Chapter 1899. 1899 will follow us. This. Xiao Ran was slightly stunned when he heard Ji Lingfei's words. His face revealed a look of shock and deep thought. The elite class was the most outstanding group of students in the first batch of students of Longmen Academy. There were only 20 people in the elite class, but there were 2 dragon men at the peak of the profound void stage teaching them. It could be said that they were the trump card of the entire Longmen Academy. 20 disciples, all of them were the most outstanding disciples that the Longmen Academy had recruited. Those below 30 years old, who were currently the strongest, had already reached the insightful emptiness realm under the nurturing of the Longmen Academy, and had even reached the second level of the insightful emptiness realm. Don't underestimate the second level of the insightful emptiness realm. Before the disciples of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace had descended, the second level of the insightful emptiness realm could already be ranked among the best in a city. Even if the disciples of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace had descended, the second level of the profound void tier could be considered a pretty good expert on Earth. Compared to other people on Earth, it was definitely at the top. The establishment of the elite class was to prepare for the upcoming academy competition. As the saying goes, the first in literature is the second in martial arts. Now that the various major factions had just been established, there were gradually beginning to be disputes. This was especially so among the several major academies. Now that the earth had changed, no one knew which person would be able to rise up strongly. At this time, being able to recruit disciples to join their own forces and having more outstanding disciples joining would be of great benefit to the entire force in the future. If one wanted to become an ancestor, one had to compete for talents. In order to compete for talents, the several major academies had agreed to have a competition. It was purely a competition between disciples. It would let everyone in the world see which academy was the #1 academy. Once one obtained the title of #1 academy, it would be of great benefit to the future recruitment of disciples. Therefore, every academy placed great importance on this competition. It was the same for Longmen Academy. Letting Hua or Kai join the elite class is not a bad choice. Xiao Ran hesitated for a moment before he slowly nodded. However, I need to seek the opinions of the 2 little princesses first. As he spoke, he quickened his pace and walked towards the lower grade class. The entire Longmen Academy was very large, and it was filled with an ancient and sacred aura. Brother Xiao Ran, Sister Ji Lingfei. When they arrived, Hua Kai, who was standing at the door of the training room, saw Xiao Ran and Ji Lingfei walking over and immediately shouted, "Hua Kai, what's wrong? Don't you like this class?" Xiao Ran immediately walked over and asked them with a smile on his face. These 2 were little fellows who could behave atrociously in front of his master. Naturally, Xiao Ran could not afford to offend them. "We don't like them. They're all a bunch of brats. Brother Xiao Ran, we don't want to play with them." Kai said unhappily. "Then do you want to go to the senior class? Or do you want to go home and play with Daddy?" Xiao Ran held their little hands and asked. "We don't want to play with the bad daddy. He even hung up on us when we called the bad daddy." Hua said loudly in dissatisfaction. All right. Then why don't brother change your class and go to the best class in the academy?" The corner of Xiao Ran's mouth twitched and he immediately said, "All right, change your class. We want to go to the senior class." Hua Kai immediately nodded. "All right, I'll bring you there now, all right?" Xiao Ran smiled and asked. The 2 of them immediately nodded. "Headmaster, take care." Zhao Laosher heaved a sigh of relief and immediately said. Xiao Ran nodded and led Ji Lingfei and the 2 girls towards the center of Longmen Academy. "This, senior brother, this. What are the identities of those 2 children? How could our principal treat them?" At the side, the long-haired middle-aged man saw this scene and gulped in shock. "I don't dare to say the identities of these 2 little princesses, but junior brother, you must remember that even our principal has to coax these 2 little princesses." Teacher Zhao's eyes flickered with a luster. They couldn't reveal the Dragon King's matters in River City. Without an order, they didn't dare to say anything. After all, that was the Dragon King, the former Dragon King, and the current Dragon King. The long-haired middle-aged man's heart trembled. Even Principal Xiao had to coax them. In the current Earth, apart from the four god strength, Dragon Gate Academy could also be ranked among the top. Principal Xiao had even defeated the fourth divine son, and his reputation was flourishing. He actually had to coax these two girls. Just what kind of background did they have? Huarakair, when the time comes, don't bully the other students, understand? The cultivation room in the very center of Longmen Academy was also the gathering place for the entire academy's elite disciples. Those who could enter this place were all heroes and were respected by others. Their strength might be comparable to some disciples of the Lingxiao Treasure Hall, but to have such results at this age, many disciples of the Lingxiao Treasure Hall could not compare. This was talent for cultivation. Xiao Ran Jilingfei brought Hua Er and Kai Er to the door and said to them, "Don't worry, Brother Xiao Ran, we are very obedient." The two little girls nodded obediently. Principal Xiao. At this moment, in the cultivation room, Devil 9 and Devil 10 saw them coming and immediately came over to greet them. "Ninth brother, 10th brother, Hua Kai Er is coming to school. Master sent them over. The two little princesses want to come to the senior grade, so I'm thinking of sending them here." Xiao Ran said politely to Devil 9 and Devil 10. "Huh?" The two were slightly stunned. They looked at Hua Er and Kai Er and immediately bowed and shouted, "Little princess." Hee. Hua Er and Kai Er looked at them and smiled. They looked at the cultivation room. "Headmaster Xiao, then hand over the two little princesses to us." Devil 9 and 10 looked at each other. They saw the other party's trembling expression and said with a bitter smile, "Okay, I'll leave them to you." Xiao Ran nodded. Then, his eyes flickered as he looked at the two little princesses beside him. He transmitted his voice to them, "Ninth brother and 10th brother, I'll have to trouble you. You know the strength of the little princesses very well. Sending them here will be a good opportunity to motivate the other students. It's also possible that the two little princesses will return to Master after they get tired of playing with them for a few days." Mo Jio and Mo Shi nodded slightly and smiled bitterly at Xiao Ran. "Two little princesses, come in with us. I'll introduce you to our new classmates." Mo Jio and Mo Shi said to them and walked into the elite class. The entire elite class's cultivation room had an area of more than 10,000 square meters. It was equipped with all kinds of tools, and it was emitting powerful spiritual energy. 20 young men and women were cultivating inside. Some were sparring, some were practicing techniques, and some were sitting cross-legged on the side. Everyone gathered together. "Today, 2 new students have come to our elite class. Let me introduce them to everyone." Mo Jio's voice resounded throughout the entire cultivation room. All the students looked over and stood in a row. 20 young men and women, each of them exuding a strong sense of confidence and pride. The students of the elite class of Longmen Academy, they had the capital to be proud. They looked at their teacher with slight astonishment, then looked at the two little girls beside their teacher who were filled with curiosity. What did this mean? Chapter 1900. 1900 is following us. In the cultivation room of the elite class of Longmen Academy, the atmosphere in the entire room was slightly strange. 20 elite students of Longmen Academy looked at the little girls beside Mo Jio and Mo Shi's 2 instructors. It was not an exaggeration for them to call them little girls. "This is Huar, this is Kair. In the future, they will be students of our elite class. Everyone take care of each other." Mo Jio looked at the students whose faces were filled with bewilderment and smiled faintly as he introduced them. "Hello, everyone." Huar and Kair smiled as she shouted at all of them. When everyone in the cultivation room heard their teacher's words, their faces were filled with astonishment. These 2 little girls were really their classmates. How old were they? At most 12 or 13 years old. How could they possibly enter their elite class? The 20 elite students were filled with doubt. Could it be that they had connections? That wasn't right either. The strength of the Dragon Gate Academy was revered. Only the strongest could enter the elite class and receive the best resources. But, all right, everyone, continue to cultivate. Mo continued speaking to all the academies, his gaze looking at Hua Kai. Two little princesses, how is this place? Very good, this place is fun. The two little girls swept their gazes across the entire cultivation room and nodded their heads in satisfaction. This cultivation room was over 10 times the size of the other cultivation rooms, and there were all sorts of array formations. That's good, that's good. Mo and Mo sure nodded their heads with a smile. They exchanged a glance and immediately returned to a single small room within the cultivation room. Following the two little princesses, they didn't know what to say, and they felt very awkward, so they simply hid. The two entered the separate cultivation room and kept an eye on the situation outside through the glass. Devil 9 and Devil 10 left, but the elite disciples in the cultivation room didn't disperse. They still stared at Hua Kaya curiously. Hua Kaya was also blinking her eyes at the group of people in front of her, sizing them up curiously. The two little sisters are really cute. How did you guys join the elite class of the academy? A girl from the elite class said to Hua Kai with a smile. Thank you. Big sister is also very cute. That's how we joined. Kai said politely to the girl. I'm also very cute. When the slightly burly girl heard Kai's words, the corner of her mouth twitched. Our elite class represents the face of Longmen Academy. In a month's time, we will have a competition with other academies. Two little girls joining our elite class. If other academies find out about this, won't they think that our Longmen Academy is too childish? A thin young man crossed his arms and said indifferently. The teacher sent these two cute little sisters over. Naturally, he has his own thoughts. It should be that these two little sisters are more talented. The burly girl who had just started speaking glanced at the thin young man before walking towards Hua Kai. Little sisters are so cute. In the future, if you follow Big Sister, no one will dare to bully you. Big Sister, you're too weak. In the future, you can follow us. No one will dare to bully you. Hua tilted her head and smiled at the burly girl. Ha, interesting, interesting. Tigress, it's quite good for you to follow these two little girls. Let's see if you can learn how cute these two little girls are. In the middle, the youth holding a metal fan laughed loudly before turning around and walking towards the training ground. Mei Heshuan, just you wait. The burly woman's face revealed a fierce aura as she glared at him angrily. Mei Heshuan completely ignored her. He opened his fan and faced forward with a smile on his face. Big sister, if you follow us, we'll help you beat him up. Hua glanced at the arrogant young man and said to the burly woman. Phew, little sister, you should follow your sister. You can't beat that scoundrel. The tall and sturdy woman took a deep breath and forced a smile on her face. She reached out her hand to touch Hua's head. However, Hua dodged her just as she reached out. Hee, the two little girls are quite interesting. At this moment, Mei Heshuan, who had arrived at the reaction speed training ground, heard Hua's words and smiled faintly. Continue cultivating, continue cultivating. A young man said as he walked to the side, and the group dispersed. Little sister, let me introduce you to the training equipment in the surroundings. The burly woman lowered her head to look at Hua and said indifferently. All right, that one is quite fun. Hua pointed to the area where Mei Heshuan was and said loudly. That one is for training your reaction speed. Use the formation to adjust the speed of the hidden weapon to dodge. The burly woman said as she led them in that direction. When he just went over, Mei Heshuan, who was dodging the hidden weapon, grunted and was hit by a flying knife. Sister, that guy is so stupid. Hua saw that he was hit by the hidden weapon and said to the burly woman beside him with a smile. Shut up. Mei Heshuan, who was continuing to dodge the hidden weapon, heard the tender voice behind him and felt a wave of irritation in his heart. He immediately shouted softly. A fool is a fool. You still blame others. Hua heard his words and curled her lips as she said disdainfully. Bang! Just as she finished speaking, another hidden weapon landed on Mei Heshuan's body. This caused his expression to instantly turn gloomy. Buzz! His figure moved and left the training area. He stared at the tall and sturdy woman with a gloomy expression. Tigress, take these two little girls away. The tall and sturdy woman that he glared at angrily roared in a deep voice. Mei Heshuan, you better speak with more respect. If you can't do it yourself, how can you blame others? The tall and sturdy woman stared at him coldly and said in a deep voice. Don't bother me. Mei Heshuan coldly glanced at them. Sister, this guy is so arrogant. Hit him. Hua Er looked at the young man and was very dissatisfied. She raised her fist at the burly woman beside her and said, When I can defeat him, sister will teach him a good lesson. The burly woman clenched her fist and said, If sister can't defeat him, then we won't follow you. You can follow us. Hua heard her words and said with a smile. She even slightly raised her head. All right. From now on, sister will follow you. The burly woman looked at Hua's appearance and shook her head in amusement. Image all right. Since sister is following us, then we will teach this fellow who bullied you a lesson. As Hua spoke, she slightly raised her head and took a few steps forward. Hey, brat in front, come over and apologize to this elder sister. Otherwise, we will beat you up. Under the surprised gaze of the burly woman, Hua raised her head and said to the youth. There was no other way. She was too short and could only raise her head. Damn it, Tigress, immediately bring these two little girls away. And you two little fellows, don't bother me. Otherwise, I will let you know how red the flowers are. Mei and Xian stared at the three of them impatiently and coldly. Chapter 1901 1901 Follow us. Mei and Xian's angry voices resounded throughout the entire cultivation room. When everyone heard their movements, they looked over and smiled faintly. Mei and Xian and He Xiaoxiao had already started a feud. The reason was that Mei and Xian had dumped one of He Xiaoxiao's best friends. In the end, He Xiaoxiao naturally did not give him a good look and targeted him everywhere. Mei Heshuan was naturally displeased with him as well. From time to time, she would call him a tigress to mock him. The rest of the elite class were already used to their quarrels. Hung little sister, let's go. We won't argue with the bad guys. He Xiaoxiao saw Mei Heshuan's cold expression. She snorted coldly and said to Hua Kai, HMH, sister doesn't have to worry. Since you've followed us, no one can bully you in Long Men Academy in the future. Let us know how red the flowers are? Let us let you know how red the flowers are. When Hua heard Mei Heshuan's words, anger appeared on her small face. Ever since Hua was born, she had never been afraid of anyone. She even dared to pee on her daddy's neck. What else was there to be afraid of? As Hua spoke, she waved her arm and a whip appeared in her hand. Oh, little sister has actually reached the Transcendence realm? He Xiaoxiao looked at the whip Hua condensed, and a hint of surprise appeared in her eyes. Go, you're not a match for the bad guys. However, she immediately pulled Hua's arm and said to her, Sister, since you've followed us, we'll naturally help you teach the bad guys a lesson. Hua raised her head and said to He Xiao with a serious expression, Little brat, don't challenge my patience. Mei Heshuan coldly looked at Hua and slightly lost his patience. If they weren't two children, he would have already taught them a lesson. Elder sister, hang her up, itchin. Hua pouted her small mouth and stared unhappily at Mei Heshuan. Yes. Kair nodded. The two little girls had long been unhappy with this fellow. Whoosh. Kair waved her hand and a vine appeared in front of her. Little brat, I think you're really asking for trouble. Mei Heshuan saw that Hua and Kair were actually preparing to attack him, and a trace of coldness appeared on his face. However, before he could finish speaking, that thorn directly coiled towards him. When he saw a green ray of light coming towards him, Mei Heshuan's expression changed slightly. So. Without waiting for him to react, his entire body was directly bound. His expression changed drastically, his body shook, and a powerful aura belonging to the first level of the profound void tier immediately erupted. "Break for me!" He roared in a low voice, wanting to struggle free of the vines on his body. Buzz! However, he soon sensed that the vines wrapped around his body did not move at all. Instead, he felt his body spinning and was immediately hung upside down. At this moment, Mei Heshuan's expression changed drastically. What was going on? How could this be? What happened? HMH, this sister is someone we protect. She's one of us. If you dare to bully her, you'll be beaten up. At this moment, he heard that familiar young voice. He looked over and looked at the young and cute little girl. Pa! He saw the little girl waving the whip in her hand. Very quickly, he felt an intense pain on his butt. Following that, a gentle breeze entered. Instantly, his face turned red, and his mind was still in a daze. How could he be subdued by two little girls in an instant? His expression changed slightly, and a sharp long sword immediately condensed in front of him. One. But at this moment, he felt his body tighten, and the long sword condensed in front of him immediately dissipated. Pa. Still not obedient. The loud sound of the whip lashing rang out once again. Mei Heshuan felt the pain coming from behind him, and his body trembled from the distance. You guys put me down, put me down. Mei Heshuan shouted at the two little girls in a trembling voice. My God, what is this situation? However, at this moment, He Xiao, who was standing at the side, widened her eyes and looked at the scene in front of her in disbelief. Mei Heshuan was actually hung up and beaten by the two little girls. He actually did not have the slightest ability to resist. He possessed the strength of the first level of the profound void tier. If placed in the entire elite class, he could also be ranked in the top 5. Now, in front of the two 12 or 13-year-old girls, he did not even have the ability to retaliate. Holy shit, what's the situation? What's going on? In the cultivation room, the surrounding people were also slightly stunned when they saw Mei Heshuan being hung up upside down. They looked over in a daze. HMH, you still dare to bully the people under our protection. Now we'll let you know why the flowers are so red. Huar held the whip in her hand and once again landed heavily on his body. Pa! His skin was torn and his flesh was torn. His clothes had completely turned into strips of cloth. Hearing this tender voice and the cruel sound of the whip, everyone landed on Huar and Kair's bodies in unison. Their eyes were wide open. How could those two little girls who had just joined their elite class be so strong? Mei Heshuan actually did not have the slightest bit of resistance. What was going on? Why are the flowers so red? Everyone looked at Mei Heshuan, who was hanging upside down. When they saw the position of his buttocks, the corners of their mouths twitched. Now it was why his buttocks were so red. Quickly put me down, put me down. Pa! Apologize to this sister, or else, H&P. Mei Heshuan felt the gazes of the surrounding students and felt the pain and chill on his body. He hurriedly shouted again. However, the flower completely ignored him and said to him with a cold snort. I apologize, put me down. Mei Heshuan was about to cry. After struggling for a few times, he realized that the vines wrapped around his body were not moving at all. This made him completely flustered. Where did these two little demons come from? How could they be so strong? Can I apologize if I don't put you down? Huar squatted down and just happened to meet the eyes of Mei Heshuan, who was hanging upside down. As she spoke, she waved the whip in her hand. Pa! Ah! A crisp sound and a miserable scream could be heard. Fear appeared in Mei Heshuan's eyes. He Xiao, I was wrong. Tell them to put me down. Hurry, I was wrong. He shouted at He Xiao with a face full of humiliation and powerlessness. This. He Xiao, who was at the side, reacted. The corner of her mouth twitched when she saw Mei Heshuan's buttocks blooming. Well, little sister, two little princesses, forget it. Let's put him down. She looked at the two little girls beside her and said with sparkling eyes. After all, they were classmates. She did not have too much enmity with Mei Heshuan. Elder sister, are you going to let him go just like that? Don't worry. In the future, with us protecting you, he won't dare to do anything. If he dares, we'll beat him every day. Hua looked up at He Xiao and said with a smile. That brilliant smile and cute dimples were extremely cute. In Mei Heshuan's eyes, he looked just like a demon. Chapter 1902. 1902, the eldest sister of Longmen Academy. Beat him every day. Mei Heshuan's body trembled and he felt like crying. Feeling the chill on his butt, he really wanted to find a hole to hide in. This was in front of 19 classmates. If they were to tell others, how would he be able to live in Longmen Academy? At the very least, he was one of the top 5 disciples of Longmen Academy. To be hung up and spanked by two little girls, wouldn't he lose face? Gulp. When the surrounding people heard the little girl's words, they gulped and looked at Mei Heshuan with sympathy. This, two little princesses, let him go. He Xiao looked at Mei Heshuan who was crying and smiled embarrassedly. She immediately said to Hua Kai and the others. All right. Kai nodded. With a wave of her arm, the vines wrapped around his body immediately disappeared. Bang! Mei Heshuan's body fell to the ground, his face still facing the ground. Hiss! His body moved slightly. Feeling the pain coming from his buttocks, he sucked in a breath of cold air. The corner of his mouth twitched, and he hurriedly used energy to cover his body. To prevent his body from being exposed. How is it, sister? It's not bad to follow us, right? Hua glanced at Mei He Xian and said to He Xiao with a smile. Not bad, not bad. He Xiao looked at Hua and Kai in a daze. She opened her mouth, wanting to say something, but in the end, she did not ask. What kind of strength do they have? How can they easily subdue Mei He Xian? Could it be that they relied on their own strength to join our elite class? They are too young. At this moment, the cultivation room was completely silent. The other 10 or so people were all looking at Hua Kai, their eyes filled with shock. On the right, a young man who was sitting cross-legged on a cultivation mat looked at Hua Kai and frowned slightly. The young man's appearance was very ordinary, and he looked very ordinary. The two young ladies have extraordinary strength. Can we exchange pointers? He slowly stood up and said to Hua and Kai with a calm expression. Oh, Yi-Chen, is he going to exchange pointers with those two young ladies? Yi-Chen actually challenged them? This looks like those two young ladies aren't simple. To be able to easily subdue Mei and Xian, they definitely aren't simple. However, I didn't think that Yi-Chen would actually challenge them. Yi-Chen is the strongest expert of our Dragon Gate Academy. When the young man's voice fell, everyone in the cultivation room looked towards him, their faces filled with shock. Sparring with us, you're too weak. Kai tilted her head and said to Yi-Chen. You can be our little brother. Hua said with a laugh. Hua and Kai's words caused the other students in the cultivation room to be slightly stunned. When Yi-Chen heard their words, he also slightly frowned. Whether we're opponents or not, won't we know after we give it a try? Yi-Chen slowly walked to the center of the cultivation room and stared at Hua and Kai. You still don't believe us, sister? Let's let them see how powerful we are, Yi-Chen. Hua said to her sister. All right. Kai nodded, and with a wave of her arm, a branch appeared out of thin air and twined around Yi-Chen. Yi-Chen's face revealed a grave expression, and all the surrounding students also stared intently. Even Mei and Xian were staring at him. He wanted to see how he was trapped by that girl's twig just now. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. What? However, everyone only saw a shadow, and Yi-Chen's shocked voice was heard. So fast. Everyone looked over at the same time and found that Yichen was actually trapped by the twig. Flames bloomed on his body, but the flames did not burn through the twig on his body. Buzz! The next moment, everyone saw Yichen being hung upside down. This scene was very familiar to everyone, especially Mei Heshuan. Looking at people upside down, Mei Heshuan felt extremely uncomfortable. Pa! Not good. Yichen, who was trapped, was a little stunned, but soon, his expression changed drastically. He heard the sound of branches waving and immediately after, he felt an intense pain on his butt. A sudden chill came over me. My pants are torn. Yichen's face changed. Cluck, 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 cluck. Flowers full of happy laughter came. She also waved the whip in her hand. Seeing the whip coming again, Yichen's pupils shrank. I give up, I give up. He hurriedly shouted out loud. Hiss. At this moment, everyone around sucked in a breath of cold air at the same time. Their widened eyes were filled with shock. The strongest expert of their Dragon Gate Academy, the second-level profound void martial artist, Yichen, was actually defeated in an instant. Instant kill, a complete instant kill. Following that, everyone's expressions became strange when they saw the place where Yichen was beaten. His clothes were torn and the scenery within could be seen. Yichen was famous for being cold in Dragon Gate Academy. He had a dead face and did not smile. Being able to see him make a fool of himself this time caused many people to reveal a faint smile on their faces. Little princesses, do you still want to take in underlings? I have just dismounted. What do you think of me? At this moment, a voice sounded. Soon after, everyone saw a fat young man run to the side of the two little demons and said with a smile, You want to be our little brother? Huar immediately nodded her head with interest. She looked at He Xiao and said, Now, this elder sister and you, we will protect you. In the future, if anyone bullies you, tell me and I will beat them up. He Xiao's mouth twitched, but the fat on Ma Kai's face was squeezed together, and a happy expression appeared on his face. Well, two little princesses, may I ask what realm are you at? The thin and weak young man who had spoken at the beginning swallowed a mouthful of saliva. When he thought of what he had just said, the corner of his mouth twitched, and he bowed slightly as he asked them in a low voice. Realm? I don't know. Huar shook her head, indicating that she was a little confused. It's the third level of the demigod realm. You don't even cultivate properly. Kair said to her from the side. Level 3 demigod. The thin young man widened his eyes and stuttered. Plop. Little princess, please accept my bow. From now on, your little brother Ma will follow you. A muffled sound came from the cultivation room. Ma Kair immediately knelt on the ground and shouted at Huar. Level 3 demigod? FUCK, this was a third-level demigod. Was the cultivation of Principal Xiao of Long Men's School so high? It's definitely not the third level of the void interpretation. The thin and weak young man trembled and stammered as he asked again. It's a third-level demigod. Father also said yes. Kai Er nodded slightly and stretched out her index finger. A 10-meter-long mystical tree appeared, exuding a terrifying pressure. Big sister, please accept my bow. The thin and weak youth saw this scene and immediately shouted loudly. FUCK, 2 demigod rank 3 little princesses. I must hug their thighs. This strength, Long Men Academy's big sister. Chapter 1903. 1903 1903 Memories, Dreams. Hee. Huar looked at Ma Kai and the skinny youth's exaggerated appearance and could not help but laugh. Good. In the future, we will take care of you and give you some delicious food. Hee. Huar waved her hand and threw the 5th-level void interpretation pills to Ma Kai, He Xiaowei, and the skinny youth. Delicious. The 3 of them were slightly stunned. When they saw the elixirs floating in front of them, their eyes widened instantly. Daddy gave us candies. I'll give you one. Huar said nonchalantly. The 5th-level insightful void tier elixirs were indeed just their candies. Wang Xian gave them over 1,000 of them and used them as candies to eat. Gulp. Ma Kai and the other two looked at the elixirs in front of them and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Their eyes revealed a burning look. Thank you, little princess, thank you. It was a 5th-level void interpretation medicinal pill. Even if they were to go bankrupt, they might not be able to buy one. In the end, the two little princesses casually threw one to each of them. Candy. This was candy. They hurriedly thanked loudly, filled with excitement. This medicinal pill would be of great benefit to their subsequent cultivation. It could even help them raise their cultivation levels. But those two little princesses, do you still accept underlings? A youth thickened his skin and asked Hua Er and Kai Er in a low voice. Accept underlings, accept underlings. As long as you're obedient in the future, we'll take care of you. Hua Er laughed loudly. Little princess, I want to be your underling. I'll definitely fight for the little princesses in the future. Little princess and me. In the future, I will do my best for the little princess. After Huar finished speaking, the moral integrity of some of the academies in the elite class was immediately lost. In front of medicinal pills, what was face? Moreover, this was an invincible demigod rank 3 expert. Although they did not understand why these two little princesses had such terrifying strength, just the strength of a demigod rank 3 was enough for them to worship. Without any exaggeration, if they met a demigod level expert, it was normal for them to kneel and worship. Moreover, these two little princesses were so cute. With a wave of their hands, they were able to obtain a rank 5 void interpretation medicinal pill. Who would not be willing? Each person will be rewarded with a candy. Huar generously waved her hand and gave one to each person. Little princess, I also want to be your little brother. Mei Heshuan's mouth twitched when he saw this scene, and he squeezed out a smile with a dark face. Although he said that he was humiliated by the whip, it was all the whip's fault. What did it have to do with the two cute little princesses? What did it have to do with the two demigod level 3 evil little princesses? It was the whip that hit them, not the little princess. As long as you listen to us, we'll take care of you. Sister, it's still better to be a senior student. That group of juniors are all cowards and crybabies. This place is the most fun. Huar saw 20 people gathered around them with smiling faces. The two little girls raised their heads, looking like big sisters. Yes, it's still better to be them. Kair nodded her head in agreement. The other party would not cry even if they were to hit them, nor would they call their parents. This group of people was much better than that group of little brats. Let's go play with that thing that shoots hidden weapons. The two little girls turned their heads and finished up in the cultivation room. The group of people hurriedly followed by the side and explained to them. With a chance to interact with a demigod rank 3 powerhouse, even Yi Chen's face was filled with smiles as he went over. This. In the cultivation room, Mo Jio and Mo Shi's faces revealed bitterness when they saw this scene. Before school ends, tell that group of students not to tell anyone about the little princess. Mo Jio said indifferently. Okay. Mo Shi nodded his head in agreement. Looking at the 20 most elite disciples of the Dragon Gate Academy surrounding the two little girls in the elite room, they smiled helplessly. How is it? Did the two of you cause any trouble in the academy? In the evening, Wang Xian came to pick up the two little girls. He looked at the cheerful girls and asked with a smile. Daddy, we are so obedient. Kair held onto Wang Xian's left arm and said while shaking it. Yeah, bad daddy. The people inside are really nice. Their words are pleasant and fun. Huar laughed and said non-stop. You two better not cause any trouble inside. Wang Xian smiled. We're not going to cause trouble. Let's go home. The two little girls hopped toward the house while holding Wang Xian's hand. In the following period of time, a scene that shocked all the students in Longmen Academy happened. During lunchtime in the elite class, A group of 20 elite students accompanied the two little girls. Under the observation of some students, they discovered that this group of elite students, including the strongest person in the academy, Yi Chen, had brought food and water for the two little girls. They even saw that the two elite students from the elite class, Mei Xian and Ma Kai, had gotten a car, and the two of them were carrying it. On it sat two little girls, laughing happily nonstop. This made the other students of Longmen Academy extremely confused. Some of them wanted to understand the situation from the elite students, but in the end, they didn't get any news. This divine ability of yours isn't so condensed. Your control isn't enough, you still have to practice your control. Yes, it's the little princess. Ma Kai, how can you be so stupid? The earth attribute is mainly based on defense. Is your defense all on your head? You have to cover your entire body. This pothole of yours is so fun. It's the little princess. What do you think we should do? Little princess, Yi Chen is not talented. I would like to ask you a question. Time passed quickly. 20 days passed in the blink of an eye. In the cultivation room, Hua Er Kaier sat on a swing. The entire cultivation room was painted pink. In the room, there were cute dolls and all kinds of toys placed around. The two little girls looked at the group of elite students cultivating in front of them and gave them some pointers. There were also elite students who came over to ask questions. Little princess, you guys are really amazing. After your little guidance, Yi Chen immediately understood. Yi Chen stood beside them and bowed respectfully. This was completely sincere. Hee, all right, don't disturb us. Hua waved her hand at her and looked at the computer in front of her. Little sister, did you feel that we didn't know about their problem before? But when we saw it, we were able to solve it immediately. Furthermore, I've been having dreams for the past 2 days, and I've been dreaming about some things. Kaier held her chin and looked at her little sister. Sister, did you have a dream too? I had a dream too. It affected my sleep. Hua turned her head and said with a smile. Obviously, she did not take this matter to heart. Why did I dream of another father and another mother? It's so real. Kaier's eyes sparkled as she pouted. Could it be that we really picked them up? Chapter 1904. 1904 Sacred Mountain, the Celestial Race. Memories, dreams. After a god fell and a drop of blood was resurrected, they would not awaken all their memories in the beginning. They would awaken bit by bit as their cultivation increased. Hua and Kaier's cultivation had already reached the demigod rank 3. This was the time for the memories to awaken. Perhaps they would be fully awakened tomorrow or at the next moment. After the awakening, their previous memories would be completely restored. Time passed slowly. Wang Xian stayed in the villa every day. However, in the past few days, he had also noticed some abnormalities in Hua and Kaier. This was especially so for Kaier. From the beginning, Kaier had always been a quiet little lady. In the past few days, she had become a lot more ladylike. Furthermore, her every move was completely different from that of an ordinary little girl. Just like the way she brushed her hair and the way she ate, there were huge changes. Wang Xian saw everything. Daddy, we're back. In the evening, the two little girls ran back after school. Now, they didn't allow Wang Xian to pick them up. I'm here. Come over and let Daddy hug you. Wang Xian stretched out his arm with a smile and said to them, Hee, Daddy, our academy will be having a competition with other academies tomorrow. All the other students in the class will be there. We will be there too. Hua ran to Wang Xian and sat on his lap. She raised her head and said, The academy competition? But Daddy will go with you guys then. Wang Xian thought of the sensational events that happened in the past few days and said with a smile, Thank you, Daddy. It's just silly. Hua happily kissed Wang Xian on the cheek. What do you guys want to eat? Daddy will get it for you. Wang Xian touched Kaier, who was sitting beside him, and smiled at them. However, what Wang Xian didn't notice was that when he placed his hand on Kaier's face, her small face instantly turned red and her eyes were watery. I want to eat meat. Hua immediately shouted loudly. All right. Wang Xian stood up. Do you want me to bring you guys there tomorrow, or do you want us to go with the academy? Daddy, bring us there. We want to go with Daddy. Hua said immediately. All right. You guys wait here. I'll go prepare food for you guys. Wang Xian nodded and walked into the kitchen. He was fine in the villa now. He was basically the one who prepared the meals for the two little girls. Sister, in the future, don't kiss your father so often. Kaya looked at Wang Xian, who was busy in the kitchen. Her eyes were sparkling as she spoke to Hua, who was beside her. Sister, what's wrong? Hua blinked her eyes and looked at her sister. Have you been dreaming these few days? Kaya asked her speechlessly. Of course. At first, it disturbed my sleep, but in the end, it was quite fun. Kaya flipped her hair and touched her forehead. She was speechless and did not say anything else. The meal is ready. I'll call Xiao Ran over to ask about tomorrow. As Wang Xian spoke, he patted the heads of the two girls and placed the food beside them. Then he gave Xiao Ran a call. Master! Master! Soon, Xiao Ran and Ji Lingfei rushed over. How was the competition this time? Wang Xian gestured for them to sit down and asked with a smile. Master, we will bring our students to Mount Hua tomorrow. There are 5 academies competing this time. Other than our 3 academies, there are also the Heaven Palm Academy and the Lingfeng Academy under the Heaven Palm sect. We are confident that we can obtain the first place in this competition. Xiao Ran introduced the competition to Wang Xian with a smile. Is the competition at Mount Hua? Wang Xian raised his eyebrows. Mount Hua was one of the divine mountains. Not far away from it was the land of the 9 dragons. Mount Hua was a land of outstanding people. The Vulcan Academy wants to hold the competition at their place. The Minjiao Academy wants to hold the competition at their place. Naturally, our Longmen Academy also wants to hold the competition at our place. After that, there was no agreement. We could only find a central location. Since ancient times, there has been a saying about the sword debate in Mount Hua. Hence, we held it at Mount Hua. This competition will be broadcasted live all over the world. It can also be considered as promoting the prestige of the few great academies. Xiao Ran said. Wang Xian nodded. Currently, the 20 strongest forces in the world were respectively 1 sect, 2 clans, 3 academies, 4 mountains, 5 sects, and 6 sections. All of them were established by the son of deity prodigies. Mount Hua was now occupied by the Celestials. The Celestials were established by the eldest young master of the Divine Peak Corporation. The Celestials were the family name that he announced to the public. The celestial strength and the influence of the eldest young master of the Celestials were extremely powerful and terrifying. Once, he single-handedly defeated the Divine Sons and an expert on the God-sealing role of the Lingshao Treasured Palace. He was not a disciple of the 4 major forces, but he was extremely feared by the Divine Sons and Heaven's favorites. Among the 20 forces, the celestial race was considered to be one of the top existences. The 2 little girls said they are going over. Are they participating in this competition? Wang Xian asked with a smile. Let's watch Hua and Kaya. If the other academies don't cheat, they don't have to participate. Master, do you recommend them to participate in the competition? Xiao Ran looked at him and asked. It doesn't matter. The 2 little girls can participate if they want to. Wang Xian shook his head nonchalantly. As long as the 2 little girls were happy, it was up to them. Even if others knew about their strength, it was nothing. It's master. Xiao Ran nodded. The first round of the academy competition was related to the ranking of the 3 academies. Obtaining the first place would naturally be of great benefit to an academy. However, he could not guarantee that there wouldn't be any tricks in this competition. Although they had set the rules, if other academies sent out Heaven's Pride level students or students whose strength was close to Heaven's Pride level, Longmen Academy would definitely not be a match for them. These students who were close to Heaven's Pride level were obviously prepared in advance by the Academy by cheating. In addition, the Fire God Academy and Gate 9 Academy were established by the Fire God Palace's disciples and Pyramid disciples, so they had to be on guard. With flowers and flowers, they could also have a guarantee. I'll bring 2 little girls with you tomorrow. Wang Xian said to Xiao Ran and the rest. Yes, master. Xiao Ran nodded. After chatting with them for a while, Xiao Ran and the rest left. Wang Xian came to the villa and looked at the 2 little girls. He played with them for a while. The next morning, Wang Xian brought the 2 little girls to Longmen Academy. In the academy, an airplane filled with powerful energy was parked at the field. A few hundred academies entered the airplane. In these academies, other than the 20 elite students, there were also some students with good talent and potential who went to watch and prepare for the future competitions. Back then at Mount Hua, a few mountain peaks were destroyed by me. I wonder how they are now. Wang Xian sat in the private room of the plane and thought to himself with a smile on his face. Chapter 1905. 1905 Son of the 9 Dharma deities. With the recovery of spiritual essence, the earth changed, and the divine mountain began to shine. Mount Hua, one of the current divine mountains, was once the west peak of Mount Hua. Now, it was also shining with divine lights. Among all the divine mountains, Mount Hua was once ranked at the top. Back then, the divine sons and the experts on the God Ascension role fought over this place. The eldest young master of the Divine Peak Corporation appeared out of nowhere and suppressed the experts on the God Ascension role. From then on, his name shook the world. The area of Mount Hua was now more than 1,000 square kilometers. It was more than 10 times the size of the past. The lowest height of each mountain was 5,000 meters, which was 4 to 5 times the height of the past. The divine light enveloped the surroundings, making people feel warm and comfortable. Yao Xie did not dare to step into such a place. It seems that after the Earth's metamorphosis, the few mountains that were severed back then have already recovered. Wang Xian came to the sky above Mount Hua. He scanned the area below and thought to himself. Mount Hua was now the territory of the Celestials. On the tallest mountain peak, there were 2 big words, Celestials, written on it. On the mountain peak at the side, some of the words, Shenfeng Corporation, were also carved on it. Shenfeng Corporation was now the leader of the 3 major pharmaceutical corporations. Their elixirs were sold to the entire world. Roar. At this moment, roars could be heard from the front. Wang Xian looked over and saw a group of people riding on flaming demonic beasts flying towards the bottom of a mountain. That should be the Vulcan Academy. Wang Xian looked over and mumbled. Currently, the mainland of Earth had become one. The 3 academies were established for the disciples of the Ling Shao Palace, the Fire God Palace, and the Pyramid. The strength of each academy was not to be underestimated. If it were not for the existence of a group of tutors at the peak of the insightful void stage and the existence of the mysterious and powerful vice principal Ji Lingfei, the Dragon Gate Academy might be considered the weakest existence in the 3 academies. That is? At this moment, Wang Xian looked into the distance. A golden pyramid was flying towards them. The pyramid was emitting a thick earthen yellow luster. The entire pyramid had a radius of about 10 kilometers and was emitting a powerful pressure. This is the kingdom of God, the unfinished kingdom of God. Wang Xian looked at the pyramid with a hint of surprise in his eyes. The unfinished kingdom of God was equivalent to the ruins of the kingdom of God in the vast area of the supernatural continent. If this unfinished kingdom of God was not built by a god, it would have been built by a demigod at the 8th or 9th level, or even a peak powerhouse. Master, we're here. At this moment, the plane stopped at the foot of the mountain. Xiao Ran's voice could be heard. All right. Wang Xian nodded and walked out of the plane. Master, that's a disciple of the Vulcan Academy. That powerful pyramid is the Gate 9 Academy. The founder of the Gate 9 Academy is the son of a god. Walking down, Xiao Ran looked at the pyramid flying towards them with a solemn expression. The strongest thing about the school of Gate 9 was its background. The founder of the school was the son of a god in the pyramid. They had resources that other schools could not match. Is the school of Gate 9 very strong? Wang Xian asked with a smile. I'm not worried about the strength of their students. I have great confidence in the competition this time around. Xiao Ran said confidently. Wang Xian nodded his head. Daddy, Daddy. At this moment, the voices of the two little girls could be heard from the side. On the plane, the two little girls didn't sit with him. Instead, they sat with a group of students. Is that the father of the two little princesses? He actually came. Moreover, our principal is actually with the father of the little princess. The fathers of the two little princesses are so young? To be able to have such a powerful daughter, he must be very powerful. To be able to have our principal and vice principal follow by the side, could it be that the fathers of the two princesses are the upper echelons of the Lingxiao treasured palace? It's really possible. The students who had alighted from the plane looked over and discussed in low voices. This was especially so for the 20 students from the elite class. They knew Hua Erkai's strength. They were also filled with surprise towards their father. Master, the competition will only start tomorrow. The Protoss has arranged a mountain peak for us to rest on. Xiao Ran said to Wang Xian. Will the two of you follow us to the mountain peak where we live or go out to play? Wang Xian looked at the two little girls and asked. We'll let Sister Yao accompany us and go out to play with our classmates. Hua replied immediately. All right then, you two go ahead. Call us if you need anything. Wang Xian nodded at them and gestured to Yao. It's the Dragon King. Yao nodded immediately. Let's go, let's go. There are so many mountains here. Let's go out and play. Hua turned her head to look at her classmates and said loudly. Sister Hua is really too playful. Ji Lingfei said with a smile from the side. Let them play. I don't know how long they can continue to play like this. Wang Xian looked at the carefree Hua and said with a smile. Ji Lingfei was slightly stunned. She heard the hidden meaning in Wang Xian's words. She looked at Hua and Kair. The two of them were not weak anymore. Their memories might be about to be completely restored. Let's go. Wang Xian glanced at them and gestured to Xiao Ran. The group of them walked towards the mountain peak where they lived. When they came to the top of the mountain peak, Wang Xian glanced at the divine mountain, Mount Hua. The divine blood that was stained with the divine blood was emitting the last of its divine radiance. Although this divine mountain was not as good as the divine kingdom, it was comparable to a pretty good paradise. Master, the appearance of Mount Hua back then has changed drastically. I still remember the scene when I fought with you and the leader of the Donghua Saints sect here. Xiao Ran walked over from behind. He scanned his surroundings and said as he recalled the scene. More than 10 years ago, the earth changed too much. Wang Xian said faintly. Divine Son of the Nine Gates, welcome to the celestial race's Hua Mountain. I am Xinyuan Wu, here to welcome all of you. At this moment, at the foot of a mountain beside Hua Mountain, the pyramid landed on the ground. A group of more than 500 people walked out from the pyramid. A middle-aged man from the celestial race immediately went up to welcome them respectfully. The people of the Protoss did not need to come up to welcome the Dragon Gate Academy, the Fire God Academy, and the other two secondary academies. However, the Protoss still had to attach great importance to the Gate 9 Academy. The reason was that the dean of the Gate 9 Academy was the son of a god, the son of a female Dharma deity in the pyramid. There was still a huge gap between the son of a god and the son of a real god. Mr. God, where is your eldest young master? In the middle of the crowd, a tall, handsome young man wearing khaki leather clothes and khaki gloves looked at Xinyuan Wu and asked indifferently. I'm sorry, Ninth Divine Son. Our eldest young master is unable to come personally to welcome you. Everyone, please, we have already arranged a place for you to stay. Xinyuan Wu hurriedly explained with a smile. Your eldest young master is really busy every day. We don't need a place to stay. Take us around. Have the other academies come? Sect 9 Divine Son's expression didn't change as he lightly asked. Sect 9 Divine Son, the Dragon Gate Academy, Fire God Academy, Sky Palm Academy, and Spirit Peak Academy have arrived. Invincible Divine Dragon's Cultivation System. Chapter 1906. 1906 Conflict. Dean, the Fire God Academy isn't too far away from us. I know a little about them. Their strength isn't bad, but they're definitely not our match. Sky Palm Academy and Spirit Peak Academy aren't qualified to compete with us yet. The only one is the Dragon Gate Academy. They're our only match. On the road of Mount Hua, a woman standing beside Divine Son 9 of the Gate said with a smile. Regardless of whether it's the Dragon Gate or the Fire God, our Menghui Academy must obtain first place in this competition. Since I've established a faction, I must become first among all the factions. Shensi Minghui's eyes flickered with intense confidence as he said proudly. As the son of a god, he had his own pride. Among the few academies, his faction's background was the most powerful. If the academy he established couldn't become first, then how could he make his mother look up to him? How could he give his mother an explanation? Therefore, in this academy competition, his Gate 9 Academy had to obtain first place. Moreover, they had to completely suppress the other academies. Dean, don't worry. My strength has already reached the 3rd level of the Profound Void tier. I will definitely be able to suppress all of them. A young man approached and said respectfully. Yes. Shensi Minjio smiled faintly. He had his own trump card. He would not lose this time in the academy's competition. I believe that with the strength of the 9 Gates Academy, I wish Shensi Jumin the best. Xinyuan Wu smiled at Shensi Jumin and said, I wonder where you are planning to go, Shensi Jumin. I heard that there are dozens of spiritual altars in the celestial races Mount Hua. Bring us to the spiritual altars to take a look. Xinyuan Wu said to him. Everyone follow me. There were once people who comprehended divine abilities from the spiritual altars on our Mount Hua. There were also people who comprehended divine abilities in front of the spiritual altars, and their strength increased by leaps and bounds. Xinyuan Wu continued with a smile. Divine attacks or things left behind unintentionally will leave behind some meaning. If one can comprehend them, it will indeed be very beneficial to cultivation. Divine Son Menjio clearly understood some of this aspect. He looked at the crowd behind him. If any of you are lucky enough to comprehend some, I will definitely reward you greatly. Thank you, Headmaster. The group of students and disciples immediately called out respectfully. Little princesses, this is the spiritual pedestal. It's the only open and mysterious place on the divine mountain, Mount Hua. Every day, a large number of people come here. There are people who have gained enlightenment here, and their cultivation is increasing rapidly. At the peak of Mount Hua's spiritual pedestal mountain, a mountain peak that was about 5,000 meters tall reached straight into the clouds. At the top of the mountain peak, there were many blood-red stone platforms. The stone platforms were irregular, and one of the stone platforms even had a palm print on it. The 20 elite students of Longmen Academy brought Huar and Kair, the 2 little princesses, to this place and introduced them. The surroundings are so beautiful, hee. Huar swept a glance at the spiritual pedestal and looked around. Immortal mist lingered around it, and it was filled with fairyland. Tell Daddy later, let's move here. Let's go take a look at the spiritual pedestal. Maybe we'll have an epiphany. The elite disciples of Longmen Academy at the side said as they looked at the spiritual pedestals one by one. Spiritual altars. Kai blinked her eyes and looked at the blood-red spiritual altars in the distance. There were more than 20 spiritual altars on the spiritual pedestal peak, and each of them had a different appearance. As she looked, she felt that there was a mysterious power within them. One. Her mind trembled, as if she had been drawn away by the energy within. Her body emitted a faint energy, and memories appeared in her mind. Sister, what are you looking at? Hua Er saw that her sister's expression was not right, and her gaze also looked towards the spiritual pedestal. Oh! However, very quickly, her mind was also attracted by the familiar energy within the spiritual pedestal, and images appeared in her mind. Oh my God, they are having an epiphany, they are having an epiphany. Right at this moment, an excited voice came from the side. A cry of surprise caused everyone around to look over. Oh! Everyone around was slightly shocked and immediately looked over. There were 200 to 300 people at the peak of the entire mountain. When they saw Hua Er's body exuding a mysterious energy, their faces revealed a shocked expression. What? The 2 little princesses and the others? The group of Dragon Gate Academy's elite students were slightly stunned and their faces were filled with astonishment. Immediately surround the surroundings, don't let others interrupt. When Yao Nu saw this scene, she immediately ordered the group of students. Yes, yes. The rest of the students immediately nodded, surrounding the surroundings, their gazes sweeping over everyone on the mountain peak. Our Dragon Gate Academy students have an epiphany, please don't disturb, or else don't blame us for not being polite. Yichen stood in front, his body emitting an imposing aura as he warned everyone around him. The students of Dragon Gate Academy, those 2 little girls are students of Dragon Gate Academy? Looking at their clothes, they are indeed students of Dragon Gate Academy. I didn't expect that 2 of them would have an epiphany. What a great opportunity! Looking at their clothes, they seem to be elite students of Dragon Gate Academy. They are going to participate in the competition tomorrow. That young man should be an elite of Dragon Gate Academy called Yichen. I didn't expect that there would be someone among them who had an epiphany. This is a great event. Perhaps Dragon Gate Academy will become the leader of the 5 great academies. When the surrounding people saw this scene, they revealed astonished expressions. At this moment, the students of Longmen Academy had an epiphany. It might have some effect on the competition tomorrow. Moreover, no matter what, the students of Longmen Academy having an epiphany at Mount Hua's divine stage was a very good publicity for Longmen Academy. Oh, what's going on? Just as the surrounding people were filled with envy and astonished discussions, Xinyuan Wu led the 9 divine sons and the others to the divine stage. When he heard the discussions around him, Xinyuan Wu was slightly startled. He looked toward the center and couldn't help but exclaim, "Someone has had an epiphany." A student of the Dragon Gate Academy? The 9th divine son looked over and was slightly stunned. Then, his expression slowly turned unsightly. An epiphany by a student of the Dragon Gate Academy wasn't a good thing for their Dragon Gate Academy, especially during this period of time. Oh! Behind them, several students from Gate 9 Academy looked over. When they saw the 2 little girls being protected layer by layer, they were all astonished and their expressions changed. The 2 little girls had an epiphany. Could it be that those 2 little girls are members of the competition this time? Are they students of your Dragon Gate Academy? Beside Divine Sun Gate 9, several academy instructors saw that Divine Sun's expression wasn't good, so they directly asked Yi Chen and the others. Gate 9 Academy? Yi Chen and the others looked at the 300 or so people who had just arrived and slightly raised their brows. That's right, we're from Gate 9 Academy? I presume you're the disciples of Longmen Academy in this competition. An old man from Gate 9 Academy asked Yi Chen and the others with sparkling eyes. Chapter 1907. 1907. Under the conflict of 1907. Don't disturb our Dragon Gate Academy students' epiphany. Yi Chen's gaze swept over everyone in the 9 Gates Academy as he said coldly. The 20 students of the elite class coldly swept their gazes over everyone around them. Their 2 little princesses had an epiphany. This caused them to be astonished, but at the same time, their hearts were filled with incomparable admiration. It seemed that it wasn't without reason that the 2 little princesses were able to reach the demigod 3rd rank at such a young age. If you don't want us to disturb you, then speak properly. A trace of coldness appeared on Shensi Men's face when he heard Yi Chen's words. His voice entered Yi Chen's and the others' ears. They frowned slightly as their gazes fell on Shensi Men. That is, when they saw his face, their hearts trembled slightly as shock appeared on their faces. Headmaster Gate 9, I'm sorry. 2 of our classmates had an epiphany. Yi Chen and the others recognized the identity of the 9th Divine Son and hurriedly said respectfully, "He." The 9th Divine Son smiled disdainfully. Is that the headmaster of the Gate 9 Academy? Hiss, this is the son of the Pyramid God. The 9th Divine Son of the Gate 9 Academy. When the surrounding people heard Yi Chen and the others' respectful words, they looked over with shocked expressions on their faces. It's just 2 little girls having an epiphany. Unfortunately, it's too early to have an epiphany at this age. The old man next to Divine Son Menjiu swept his gaze across Huar and Kair and shook his head slightly. Yes, Vice Principal. If it were their Dragon Gate Academy's elite students having an epiphany, we might have to be a little more serious. It's just 2 little girls. Their luck is pretty good. But tomorrow, our 9 Gates Academy will still be able to easily suppress the Dragon Gate Academy. A student from the 9 Gates Academy said with a smile, as if he didn't put the Dragon Gate Academy in his eyes at all. Hmish, that might not be the case. In tomorrow's battle, we won't need the 2 of us little princesses to make a move. We can also suppress you. Ma Kai heard their words and snorted lightly. In the face of the 9th Gate Academy's provocation, even if the 9th Gate Divine Son was here, they couldn't weaken the prestige of the Dragon Gate Academy. 2 little princesses? When the 9th Gate Divine Son heard his words, he slightly raised his brows and looked at the 2 little girls who had suddenly gained enlightenment. The few middle-aged elders beside him also looked over with flickering eyes. Boom! At this moment, an aura spread out from Huar Kair's body and swept out in all directions. What a powerful aura! Could it be that the 2 little princesses are about to break through? Yi Chen and the others hurriedly looked over, their faces filled with surprise and joy. What? This aura? Divine Son Menjiu and the other academy experts beside him had awe-inspiring expressions. Their eyes were filled with shock. Oh my God, this aura is so strong. Even if it's restrained, it's still so terrifying. How can the strength of those 2 little girls be so strong? Is it because of an epiphany? What a terrifying aura. This aura is comparable to some heaven's favored sons, right? Hiss, 2 such young students of the Dragon Gate Academy are actually so powerful. This Dragon Gate Academy is heaven-defying. The first place in this grand competition is basically guaranteed. When the surrounding people sensed Huar and Kair's aura, their faces revealed shock as they discussed one after another. When the 9th Divine Son heard the surrounding people's words and saw the strength of 2 such young students from Dragon Gate Academy, his face slowly darkened. He snorted coldly, and everyone's hearts trembled. It was as if their hearts had stopped. Everyone's faces instantly turned pale. Even Lady Yao's expression changed drastically. Lady Yao stared at the 9th Divine Son with a grave expression in her eyes. Everyone around also looked at the 9th Divine Son in horror. They didn't understand why he was suddenly so angry. He actually interrupted the scene in our minds. At this moment, Huar's slightly angry voice sounded. Kair also recovered from the scene and glared angrily at the 9th Divine Son. He was interrupted. Everyone's expression changed slightly when they saw the 2 little girls wake up. You actually interrupted us, you detestable fellow. Kair's small face was somewhat cold, and a faint dignity radiated from her body. In my actions, I can do whatever I want. I don't need a little girl like you to question me. You don't have the qualifications, HMH. The 9th Divine Son coldly said. How overbearing. Everyone's hearts trembled slightly when they heard the 9th Divine Son's words. Headmaster 9th Divine Son, I didn't expect that you would actually do such a thing. HMH, Did you see that your ninth Divine Sun Academy isn't a match for us two little princesses' rising strength? Are you going to interrupt their epiphany in this way? Yi Chen and the others questioned the Divine Sons of Gate 9 with embarrassed expressions. Afraid of you? Our Gate 9 Academy will be afraid of you, hee hee. When the students of Gate 9 Academy heard Yi Chen and the others' words, they stepped forward and said disdainfully, "You bunch of scoundrels, none of you are good." Huar stared at them, her eyes flickering with fury. "Little girl, watch your words." A female student of the Gate 9 Academy said to her coldly, "You bunch of people, you're asking for a beating." Huar glared at the female student and continued speaking. HMH, breaking someone's epiphany really makes people look down on you. The disciples of your Gate 9 Academy are all trash. Ma Kai stood by Huar's side and spoke directly. "I think you're all courting death." When all the Gate 9 Academy students heard his words, their faces also revealed an icy expression. For a moment, the entire spiritual pedestal peak's aura froze. Courting death? Headmaster Gate 9, do you dare let your academy's elite students fight with us? Yi Chen's face was gloomy as he spoke directly to Divine Sun Gate 9. "You bunch of bastards, you're asking for a fight. Today, I'm going to teach you all a good lesson." Huar also waved her arm, and a whip appeared in her hand. She swung it. "How about it, Headmaster Gate 9? We'll spar with your Gate 9 Academy students. Your academy's teacher won't make a move, right?" He Xiaowei also stood up and spoke directly to Shensi Gate 9. The elite students of the Dragon Gate Academy actually want to challenge the Gate 9 Academy here. My God, the spar is tomorrow. Today I have to say that the students of the Dragon Gate Academy are all very domineering. Although Divine Sun Gate 9 is domineering and tyrannical, interrupting the epiphany of the students of the Dragon Gate Academy, if he doesn't agree today, I reckon that the Gate 9 Academy will have a bad reputation. When the people on Shuntai Peak saw the domineering students of the Dragon Gate Academy, their faces were filled with astonishment. The elite students of the Dragon Gate Academy wanted to directly teach the students of the 9th Gate Academy a lesson. Under such circumstances, if the 9th Gate Academy didn't dare to accept the challenge, then it would be a great loss of face. Everyone, the Academy's grand competition will be held tomorrow. This is our land of the Celestials. No one can fight in our territory. At this moment, Xinyuan Wu, who was standing beside Shensi Minjio, frowned and said directly when he saw this scene, "Shut up." However, as soon as he finished speaking, Kair angrily shouted at him. Her cute and beautiful face had an unprecedented dignity. Chapter 1908. 1908. Who in 1908 would dare to cause trouble in the Protoss? Just now, Kair's memories were quickly awakened due to the attraction of the divine power in the divine pedestal. If no one disturbed them, she would be able to recover all her memories. This way, she wouldn't have to dream about all kinds of things every day. Being interrupted by Shensi Minjio, she was abnormally angry. She was filled with coldness and impatience in front of the Protoss divine Yuan Wu. "My friends from the Protoss race, where did you go just now? Why are you talking now? Don't you know that you can't be disturbed when you have an epiphany?" Yao Nu looked at the divine Yuan Wu and said coldly. "Well..." Hearing Kair's angry shout and Yao Nu's questioning, the divine Yuan Wu looked embarrassed. "You want to teach us a lesson? Do you have the qualifications to do so?" At this moment, when the students of the Gate 9 Academy heard Yi Chenhua and Kai Er's words, their faces also revealed a cold expression. They didn't have the slightest fear towards the students of the Dragon Gate Academy. Moreover, the other party actually wanted to teach them a lesson, so they naturally didn't cower. They had strong confidence in their own strength. A group of more than 20 young men and women walked out. With a wave of their palms, weapons appeared in their hands. "Well then, we'll teach you guys a lesson today." Yi Chen and the others also moved their palms, and weapons appeared one after another. When Xinyuan Wu saw this scene, his expression changed drastically. He immediately looked at the ninth divine son by the side. However, when he saw his ice-cold expression, a bitter expression appeared on his face. If it was a faction, the celestial race could still intimidate them. However, the conflict between the two academies was not something he could resolve. Immediately report to eldest young master. Right now, only eldest young master can resolve the matter here. Xinyuan Wu's expression darkened. He immediately made a phone call. You'll soon know if you have the qualifications or not. I should beat them up. Hua Er glared at them angrily and immediately swung her long whip at them. The rest of Yi Chen and the others were full of vigor, and the weapons in their hands emitted a brilliant light. They are fighting. Let's quickly dodge. Could it be that the Dragon Gate Academy and the Gate 9 Academy will decide the victor today? Everyone in the surroundings was slightly shocked and hurriedly dodged to the side. Courting death. Let them experience the might of our Gate 9 Academy. The students of the Gate 9 Academy revealed a powerful fighting spirit as they shouted loudly. Pa pa pa. However, at this moment, a vine directly lashed towards them. The vine was like a poisonous snake. Ah! A student of the Gate 9 Academy didn't notice and was instantly struck. He spat out blood and flew backwards. What? That little girl is so strong. The expressions of the other 20 or so Gate 9 students changed slightly. However, before they could consider it, Yi Chen and the others had already arrived. The 20 elite disciples of the Dragon Gate Academy, after Hua Er and Kai Er, the two little girls, gave them medicinal pills and gave them pointers, the lowest strength of their group had already reached Transcendent Level 9. Among them, Yi Chen, who was the strongest, had already reached the third level of the Insightful Void Realm. They attacked at the same time, causing the expressions of the more than 20 disciples of Gate 9 and 1 to slightly change. Kai stared at the ninth divine son of Gate, and a green light flashed in her eyes. Her slightly tender eyes revealed wisdom that did not match her age. Her gaze fell on the disciples of Gate 9 Academy, and she waved her hand. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Vines covered the entire mountain peak in an instant, directly wrapping around the students of the school of Gate 9. Break for me. The strongest expert of the school of Gate 9, the youth who also possessed the strength of the third level of the profound void tier, saw the sudden appearance of the thorns, and he hurriedly waved the earthy yellow hammer in his hand, shaking it towards the ground. Waves of earthy yellow fluctuations shook towards the thorns. Not good. However, in an instant, the powerful undulations landed on the vine, but to no avail. This caused his expression to change drastically. So. Branches directly appeared beneath everyone, wrapping around their legs. Oh no, how is this possible? At this moment, the expressions of all the disciples of the Nine Gates Academy changed drastically. They looked at the incoming attacks from the students of the Dragon Gate Academy, and fear appeared in their eyes. Damn it. The faces of the Divine Son of the Nine Gates Academy and the teachers of the Nine Gates Academy also changed drastically when they saw this scene. A middle-aged man waved his hand, and a huge earthen yellow shield appeared in front of the more than 20 students of the Nine Gates Academy. Following that, a sharp sword appeared in his palm and slashed towards the thorn that was restraining the students. HMH, even the teachers of the School of Nine Gates have made a move. How shameless! When all of Yi Chen's attacks were blocked, Huar's voice rang out, however, I will beat them today. As Huar spoke, she waved the long whip in her hand and instantly struck towards the more than 20 elite students of the School of Nine Gates. So fast. The instant the long whip was waved, the pupils of the old man standing beside the Divine Son of Nine Gates narrowed slightly. They wanted to attack now, but it was too late. Pa pa pa. Ah. An incomparably tragic sound rang out. A long bloody scar instantly appeared on the bodies of the more than 20 students of the Nine Gates Academy, accompanied by a miserable scream. When Shensi Minjio saw this sudden scene, his expression instantly darkened. The old man at the side immediately made a move and caught the students of the Nine Gates Academy one by one, preventing them from falling down. A bunch of earth-shattering dogs. Such trash still dares to participate in the grand tournament of the academy. Right at this moment, Kai Er's voice resounded throughout the entire spiritual pedestal peak. This, instant kill. The students of the Gate 9 Academy were actually instant killed. Those two little girls are so terrifying. This is a battle on a completely different level. The Gate 9 Academy doesn't have the strength to resist at all. The gap between them and the Dragon Gate Academy is too big, right? So fast? Damn, the Gate 9 Academy is nothing compared to the students of the Dragon Gate Academy. When the surrounding people saw this scene, their faces were filled with astonishment. They had thought that it would be a battle of equal strength, but they hadn't expected that the Gate 9 Academy would be instantly killed. Wasn't the gap too big? The competition hadn't even started, and the Gate 9 Academy had already been crushed. Boom! At this moment, an incomparably terrifying aura soared into the sky. In the entire spiritual pedestal peak, everyone's expressions changed drastically as they hurriedly looked over. In front of everyone from the Gate 9 Academy, Divine Son Gate 9's clothes rustled, and a terrifying killing intent overflowed from his body. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared icily at Kair. What? Is the headmaster of the Gate 9 Academy going to make a move? Kair looked at the Son of God of the Gate 9 Academy and mocked him coldly. Kair. Yao Nu's expression changed slightly when she saw Kair actually provoking the Son of God of the Gate 9 Academy. The person in front of her was the son of a god. His strength was not an ordinary demigod. She called out softly and immediately sent a message to Wang Xian. Things had already exceeded her expectations. Chapter 1909. 1909 Big Brother 1909. The headmaster of Gate 9 Academy was going to make a move. A voice filled with ridicule resounded throughout the entire spiritual pedestal peak. Everyone was stunned. First, it was said that Gate 9 Academy students were all in ruins. Then, it was ridiculed that Gate 9 Divine Son. That little girl was so powerful. Little girl, I think you're courting death. Did you really think that I wouldn't dare to make a move? How could our Gate 9 Divine Son be bound by the eyes of the secular world? The killing intent in Gate 9's Divine Son's eyes intensified when he heard Kair's words. He stared coldly at Kair and said callously. Based on ordinary secular behavior, if he made a move to harm the students of Longmen Academy, he would definitely be disgraced by everyone. However, he was the Son of God, Gate 9's Divine Son, so how could he be bound by the secular world? He didn't need to explain his actions to anyone. He acted completely according to his own mood, without any scruples. Everyone around felt the aura from the 9th Divine Son, and their faces changed drastically. Who dares to cause trouble on the celestial race's Hua Mountain? At this moment, a cold voice came from afar. Buzz! Instantly, a young man with a lofty aura and an unruly expression appeared in the sky above the spiritual pedestal peak. His gaze swept through the surroundings and landed on Shensi Men. Shensi Men, it's not good for you to cause trouble in our divine clan, right? The young man stared at Shensi Men and asked indifferently. He didn't seem to be afraid of his identity or background. Oh! Shensi Men stared at the young man, his eyes shining. Shensi, this Divine Peak Corporation's eldest young master's strength is very terrifying. At this moment, an old man standing beside Shensi Menjio reminded him in a low voice. Shensi Menjio's eyes flickered. The two old men beside him had been sent by her mother since she was young. The two of them were at the 8th level demigod realm. Other than the top-tier experts of the other 4 major forces, no one else was their match. To be able to make 2 8th level demigod realm experts call them terrifying, one could imagine how powerful they were. I'm very sorry, young Master Shinfeng. Someone attacked my student, and we, Gate 9, naturally can't remain indifferent. Gate 9's divine son said to the youth with a smile. Oh, someone dares to attack Gate 9's divine son. He's quite bold. Seeing that Gate 9's divine son was giving him face, the youth's expression softened a little. He swept his gaze toward Huar and the others. Dragon Gate Academy? He raised his brows and said indifferently, Greetings, young Master Shenfeng. Yi Chen and the others saw the young man and felt their hearts tremble slightly. They bowed and shouted, The eldest young master of the celestial race is so powerful. He instantly shocked the two great academies. Even the tyrannical ninth divine son of the celestial race was somewhat afraid of him. He's an expert who sits on the God Ascension role alone. The eldest young master of the celestial race is someone who has great opportunities. When everyone saw the young man's arrival, their eyes were filled with astonishment. Who told you to make a move on my celestial race's Mount Hua? Where's your principal, Xiao Ran? The young man stared arrogantly at Yi Chen and the others as he asked coldly. A faint pressure spread downwards. Young Master Shenfeng, two of our academy's little princesses were startled by them when they had an epiphany in front of the spiritual pedestal. Yi Chen broke out in a cold sweat under the pressure and hurriedly explained with his head lowered. Epiphany? The young man raised his eyebrows and then continued, No matter what, anyone who dares to make a move in our land of the Celestials must be punished, no matter what faction you come from. As he spoke, he slowly stretched out his hand. How overbearing! At this moment, everyone around once again felt the tyranny of an expert. The eldest young master of the celestial race did not care at all about the other party's identity as a student of Longmen Academy, and directly wanted to punish him. Elder sister, this fellow seems to be more powerful than us. Huar stood on the spiritual pedestal peak, her brows tightly knitted as she spoke to her elder sister. Kair nodded. She slowly touched the star grass on her forehead without the slightest bit of fear. Let me tell you, it was that group of fellows who provoked us first. If you dare to bully us, I'll have Daddy beat you up. Huar saw that the guy wanted to punish them, so she pouted and said angrily, Hee, no one dares to cause trouble in the celestial race. On account of your status as students of the Dragon Gate Academy, I'll give you a slight punishment. I'll let you know whose territory this is. The young man proudly announced indifferently. If it wasn't for the fact that he hadn't recovered his strength yet, if it wasn't for the fact that there was a god behind Door 9, and if it wasn't for the fact that Door 9's divine son's attitude was better, he wouldn't have cared so much today. Those who dared to cause trouble on the celestial race's Hua Mountain all had to be punished. They were overbearing and domineering, causing everyone around them to show respect. Even Door 9 looked at the domineering young man in astonishment, his eyes flickering. Oh, someone dares to touch my daughter? However, at this moment, a faint voice sounded. Who? The young man's expression changed slightly when he heard this voice. His gaze was fixed on the position beside Flower. Daddy! Huar was pleasantly surprised when she heard the voice. Kair also looked over immediately. However, there was a hint of shyness, a hint of dependence, and a hint of discomfort in her gaze when she looked at Wang Xian. She opened her mouth but failed to utter the word in the end. Wang Xian stroked her head and looked at the familiar figure in the sky indifferently. Repeat what you said just now. Wang Xian looked at him and said faintly, It's him. In the sky, when the young man saw Wang Xian, his heart was immediately shaken and his heart was in turmoil. Damn, how could it be him? The young man's facial expression changed drastically. Ever since he, Shenfengzi, regained his memories after being revived, there were not many people in this world who were afraid of him. Having cultivated the heaven and earth concealment technique, he was confident that he would be able to hide from those gods. The only person who frightened him was the person from half a year ago. After all, that person was the only person on earth who had slaughtered a god. Furthermore, the sea god did not even escape with a drop of blood. His divine kingdom had been devoured. The other party had an extremely terrifying eye technique that was specially used to counter his concealment technique. This could be said to be the person he feared the most on Earth. He didn't expect to meet him again after more than half a year. Moreover, it was in this manner, and it was when he was acting pretentious. Oh, who is that person? How dare he speak to the eldest young master of the celestial race like that? He descended in an instant. He's also a demigod expert and the father of those two girls. Who is he? I'm afraid this fellow is doomed. Even the ninth son of deity is polite to the first young master of the celestial race. How can he be so arrogant? The surrounding people were slightly shocked when they saw Wang Xian appearing in an instant. They looked at him in astonishment. However, what happened next shocked everyone. Big brother, I mean the two little princesses are really cute. This is the first time we've met. This is a gift prepared for the two little princesses. I hope they like it. Shen Fengzi's body trembled and the corner of his mouth twitched. He quickly landed beside Wang Xian. Gritting his teeth, he took out two treasures from his interspatial ring and handed them over. He stuttered a little. Chapter 1910. 1910-1900 was dumbstruck. What? At this moment, when everyone saw the celestial young master suddenly appear next to the young man out of thin air and take out the treasure with a face full of respect and stuttering, they were all stunned. What was going on? Just a moment ago, the celestial young master was still invincible, and even the ninth divine son was very afraid of him. Now why was he so respectful to the young man who appeared out of thin air? How was this possible? Hms, who cares about your things, Daddy? He said he wanted to punish us just now. At this moment, Huara's voice rang out. She snorted coldly and raised her head to shout at Wang Xian. No one can bully you. Wang Xian stroked Huara's head and squinted his eyes at the young man in front of him. Big brother, I really didn't know that they were your daughters. Little princesses, I was wrong. I, Shen Fengzi, failed to recognize Mount Tai. Seeing the change in Wang Xian's expression, Shen Fengzi was on the verge of tears. He gritted his teeth and continued to take out the two treasures from his interspatial ring. The two wood spirit pearls were emitting powerful energy. They were at least at the peak of the demigod realm. Little princesses, here. You are of the wood attribute. Take them and cultivate. What Big Brother said just now was nonsense. Don't be calculative with Big Brother. Kamikaze hurriedly handed the wood spirit pearl to Huara and Kair and said with a sad face. Huara stared at the wood spirit pearl with a little light. She narrowed her small eyes and smiled. Seeing that you are so obedient, I won't let Daddy hit you. The two little princesses are kind-hearted. I wish that the little princess will become more and more beautiful in the future. When Kamikaze heard Huara's words, he was delighted and quickly said to Huara with a smile on his face. Hee, I forgive you. When Huara heard Kamikaze's words, she could not help but giggle. Her eyes narrowed like crescent moons. What the little princess said is the truth. Kamikaze secretly looked at the great demon king's expression in front of him and immediately said with a smile on his face. At this moment, Xinyuan Wu was stunned. All the students of the Dragon Gate Academy were stunned. The people of the Gate 9 Academy were also stunned. The people around them were even more stunned. What did they see? Was this the young master of the celestial race just now? Why did it feel like he had changed into a different person in an instant? Was this dog-licking look still the same as the overbearing celestial young master from earlier? Huara Kair, is there anyone bullying you guys? Wang Xian glanced at the two girls indifferently and looked at the group of people from the Gate 9 Academy. The son of deity and the two elders beside him frowned slightly when they saw Wang Xian's gaze. They looked at Wang Xian in astonishment. They were puzzled. What was the identity of this young man that made that young master of the celestial race so fearful? Daddy, there's more. When images appeared in my mind just now. There's nothing else. We are about to grow up. We can settle some matters ourselves. Huar wanted to continue speaking, but she was suddenly interrupted by Kair. Huar was slightly stunned. She blinked her eyes and looked at her sister. When Wang Xian heard Huar's words, he also frowned slightly. His eyes were sparkling. In the past, when Kair talked to him, she would always call him daddy. Then let's go back. Wang Xian suddenly felt a little annoyed and said to Huar, "Okay." Kair nodded her head. Wang Xian's figure moved and disappeared with them, leaving behind a group of people with shocked expressions. Phew! When Shenfengzi saw that Wang Xian had disappeared, he instantly heaved a sigh of relief and wiped the cold sweat on his forehead. He turned his head and sensed the shocked expressions of everyone around him. His expression changed drastically again. "If anyone were to say anything about what happened just now, I will kill all of you." He shouted sternly and swept his murderous aura across everyone around him. Following that, his body disappeared in an instant. He had escaped. It was too embarrassing. Although he did not kneel down like last time, there were many people around him today. Everyone around was stunned. They did not react until the eldest young master disappeared for more than 10 seconds. To be able to make the young master of the celestial race so fearful, what is the strength of that young man? Divine Son Menjio's face darkened slightly when he saw them leave. He asked the two elders beside him, "Young master, we didn't see the young man's strength clearly either, but we can be sure that he isn't a god." An elder said with a slight frown. The god who had lit the divine fire had divinity on him. He was mighty even when he wasn't angry. They didn't sense it from the young man just now. There's another possibility. The other party is a high-level member of the Lingshao Treasured Palace, or a person with great fortune who once defeated the eldest young master of the celestial race. Another old man guessed. Shensi Minjio nodded, but his expression soon became ugly. A powerhouse actually sent his daughter to the Dragon Gate Academy. That Dean Xiao Ran of the Dragon Gate Academy is really shameless. Damn it. As he spoke, his eyes sparkled. "Let's go." Shensi Minjio's face was gloomy. The Shensi paused for a moment and said to an elder beside him, "Use all your strength to investigate all the information about that young man." With that said, he clenched his fists tightly, and a trace of unwillingness appeared on his face. "Yes, Shensi." The elder nodded and left in an instant. Divine Son Menjio and the others also left toward the pyramid with heavy expressions. "It's over just like that?" "Who was the last young man to appear?" "I don't know, but this is going to be a big deal. The 5 Great Academies Grand Competition hasn't even started yet, and Long Men Academy has already crushed Menjio Academy. If this were to be posted on the internet, it would definitely cause a huge uproar." In the surrounding area, the rest of the people from the spiritual pedestal peak saw them leaving and were chatting in astonishment. "Let's go, sister. Let's go and rest first." As soon as they returned to the mountain peak where they were staying, Kair pulled the flowers and ran into the room. "Hey, sister, why are you pulling me?" Looking at Kair and the flowers entering the room, Wang Xian was slightly lost in his thoughts as he looked at their figures. "Sigh, forget it, forget it. There will be a day like this. Although the day will come sooner than I expected." Wang Xian smiled bitterly. He had seen Kair's recent situation. The two little ones had apparently awakened some memories for some reason. The big flowers didn't think too much about it. However, Kair, who had always been a lady, seemed to have recalled something. Speaking of which, Wang Xian had already integrated himself into the role of a father over the past half a year. Now that he saw that the two little fellows had regained their memories and might be leaving him, Wang Xian still felt a little reluctant to part with them and had other special feelings. "Forget it. I'll do whatever I need to do." Wang Xian shook his head and came to the top of the mountain peak. He was slightly lost in thought. Chapter 1911. 1911 The Wrath of the 1911 Sect 9 Divine Son. "Sister, why did you pull me over? I still want to play with Daddy for a while." In the room on the mountain peak, Hua pouted as she looked at her sister and said unhappily. Kai Er looked at her sister and didn't know what to say for a moment. Although her memories hadn't fully recovered, she had already recovered more than half of them. She had already understood some things. However, she remembered everything clearly when they were resurrected. She remembered how she called that young man as her father back then. She also remembered how much that young man doted on them. In fact, her heart was filled with dependence, but... Sigh. Kai sighed slightly and sat by the side in a daze. At the peak of the mountain, Wang Xian was also looking at the magnificent scenery around him. He was slightly lost in his thoughts. At this moment, a video on the internet caused a huge sensation. The name of the video was, "The competition between the 5 major academies had yet to begin, and Longmen Academy had completely crushed Gate 9 Academy." In the video, it was a battle between the elite students of Longmen Academy and the elite students of Gate 9 Academy. The video was recorded clearly from the start of the battle between the 2 academy students until the end. When everyone saw the video of the 2 little girls from the Dragon Gate Academy crushing the students from the 9 Gates Academy, they immediately became excited. Damn, the students from the 9 Gates Academy are too trashy. They were actually pressed to the ground by the Dragon Gate Academy. No matter what, the 9 Gates Academy is one of the 3 academies. How could they be so weak? The 2 little girls from the 9 Gates Academy are so strong. But isn't the 9 Gates Academy too trashy? They were completely crushed. How can they be called one of the 3 great academies? Isn't the 9 Gates Academy too weak? They were able to become one of the 3 academies because of the 9 Gates Divine Son's background. Otherwise, they wouldn't be worthy of being called the 3 Gates Academy. It's not that the 9 Gates Academy is trashy. It's that those 2 girls are too monstrous. What kind of strength do they have? The video had been broadcasted for tens of millions of times in a short period of time. When everyone saw the scene in the video, they couldn't help but say with their mouths agape. The 2 great academies had fought before the grand competition, and in the end, the Gate 9 Academy was crushed. This was simply too embarrassing. In a short period of time, the internet was filled with people ridiculing the Gate 9 Academy as trash. If the founder of the Gate 9 Academy wasn't the Son of God, he probably wouldn't have the qualifications to be called the 3rd Academy. Of course, there were also people who noticed that the 2 little girls of the Dragon Gate Academy were too monstrous, but many people ignored them. Being crushed was being crushed, so how could they blame the Dragon Gate Academy for having 2 monstrous students? The tournament of the 5 great academies had been the hottest topic recently, and now it was even more attracting people's attention. In the past few days, there were even some people who guessed which academy would be ranked first. At first, many people were very optimistic about the 9 Gates Academy, but in a short period of time, the 9 Gates Academy was called the weakest and most trashy academy. It was even inferior to the Sky Palm Academy and the Spirit Peak Academy, which couldn't even be called the 3rd Academy. Bastard, who sent it? Who sent it? This bunch of fellows deserve to die. Bang bang. At this moment, in the incomparably huge pyramid beside Mount Hua, the 9 Gates Divine Son was smashing the things in the room with a face full of rage. His entire body was filled with killing intent as he stared at the computer in front of him, his body trembling slightly. Divine Son. In front of him, 2 beautiful women were kneeling there and trembling when they saw the Divine Son, who was suddenly enraged. Their Divine Son's temper wasn't very good. Many maids were often injured or even beaten to death by him. When they thought of the miserable state those maids had been in, the 2 women became even more afraid. Jean E. He shouted toward the door with a face full of killing intent. Divine Son. An old man immediately walked in from outside the door. When he saw the smashed room, he immediately bowed and said, Divine Son, what orders do you have? Has Jean found any information about that young man? Divine Son Minjiu suppressed the fury in his heart and growled in a low voice. Divine Son, Jean shouldn't have found any information in such a short time. I'll contact him immediately. The old man hurriedly said. Our School 9 must not lose tomorrow's grand competition. Moreover, School 9 must get first place, definitely. The ninth son of deity roared in a low voice. When he had established School 9, he had aspired to become the leader of all the academies. This time, he was also aiming for first place in the grand competition. He wanted to prove to his mother that he was powerful. However, the competition had yet to begin and the reputation of the Gate 9 Academy had been completely destroyed. In fact, the academy that was called the most trashy academy was all supported by the god behind him. How could this not make him furious? Seeing the messages one by one, killing intent welled up in his heart. In the following competition, the Gate 9 Academy could not afford to lose. However, because of the existence of the two girls, it was impossible for the Gate 9 Academy to win. If that young man doesn't have a powerful background, then kill those two girls. Kill them. It's all because of them. He roared tyrannically. Kill them. The old man was slightly stunned. He immediately bowed and said, "Divine Son, think twice. That young man can make the eldest young master of the celestial race so respectful. He must be quite powerful. He's not a god. As long as he doesn't have a god behind him, our Sect 9 will be afraid of him. If he infuriates this divine son, I'll kill him." Sect 9's divine son said tyrannically. "Divine son, they're with the disciples of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace. I'll get Jean Eyre to ask some of the experts of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace. If he's a high-ranking official of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace, we should be able to get the news soon." The old man immediately said, "Ask him to give me the news within an hour. As long as he's not a high-ranking official of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace, we'll take action." Shensi Minzhou's eyes shot out killing intent as he said in a cold voice, "It's the Shensi." The elder nodded respectfully and immediately contacted the other elder. The higher-ups of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace. The elder immediately took action after receiving the information. It might take him some time to find out the specific identities of the two girls' fathers. However, it was much easier to find out if they were the higher-ups of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace. As an expert who had also descended to Earth, although the few major factions were not very harmonious, it was still relatively easy for him to find one of the other party's high-ranking officials. He had seen Wang Xian's face before. He could completely condense it with energy. As long as he was looking for some divine sons of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace and asked the experts on the God-sealing role, he would know. With a target in mind, the old man immediately took action. With his cultivation of the 8th level of the Profound Void tier, it was very easy to find them. Divine Son, Jean Eyre sent a message that the young man is not among the higher-ups of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace. An hour later, the old man entered the room of the 9th divine son in the pyramid and reported, "No? Ha, good. Those two damn girls have brought shame to our School 9 Academy. I will kill them tonight." "No, capture those two girls, Tiskeiske." He stood up with a malevolent expression and licked his tongue, his face filled with lust. 5 minutes later, two naked corpses lay at his feet. It was those two maids. Chapter 1912. 1912 Dragon's Wrath 1. Son of Deity, although that mysterious middle-aged man is not a high-ranking official of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace, he is very powerful. With our strength. In the pyramid room next to Mount Hua on the Divine Mountain, the old man frowned slightly as he spoke to the 9th son of Deity. The old man and the others were not too surprised by the two little girls' revenge. They understood the son of Deity's character of seeking revenge for the smallest grievance. However, according to second brother Jin's investigation, although that young man was not a high-ranking official of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace, he was able to make the eldest young master of the celestial race so fearful. He was not someone they could easily deal with. As long as he is not a godly state expert, everything is negotiable. A ferocious look appeared on 9th Gate's son of Deity's face. He slowly extended his hand, and there was an incense stick in his palm. This incense stick emitted a dreamy luster. Dream God Incense. The old man looked at the incense in Shensi Men's hand and was shocked. Shensi, with the Dream God Incense, I can definitely complete the mission and kidnap those 2 little girls. There might even be a chance to take that young man's head. The old man immediately bowed and said, When Jean Eyre comes back, all of you will make a move together. The corner of the divine son of Menjio's mouth curled up slightly as he said faintly, It's the divine son. The old man took the Dream God Incense and respectfully retreated outside. The Dream God Incense was a kind of treasure that was similar to the hypnotic incense. By lighting up this incense, it would be able to hypnotize everyone below the godly state. The effect of this incense was extremely powerful. Only the descendants of Menjio, a god, had the chance to obtain such a precious item. Huarcaire, are you still eating tonight? The sun was gradually setting. On a mountain peak in Mount Hua, Wang Xian came to Huarcaire's room and asked, Daddy, eat, I want to eat. The door opened and Huar looked at Wang Xian with a smile on her face. She looked very happy. Daddy, sister said that she's not hungry. I'm not eating anymore. Following that, Huar looked at Kair who was in the room and continued to speak to Wang Xian. Kair is not hungry. Come and eat then. Wang Xian looked at Kair who had her back facing him in the room and didn't say anything. Most of this girl's memories should have been awakened and she didn't know how to face him. After all, they were once gods and had lived for an unknown number of years. They once had their own parents and relatives. Now that they had a father, it was naturally difficult for them to accept it. They didn't know how to deal with it. Come, let Daddy carry you down. What do you want to eat? Wang Xian carried Huar and asked with a smile. I want to eat meat, eat meat. Huar shouted happily. Daddy. In the room, Kair sensed that Wang Xian and Huar had left. A hint of bitterness appeared on her delicate little face. She couldn't help but hold her chin with both hands. The awakening of her memories was hard for her to accept as a father. She and her younger sister perished in the battlefield more than 100,000 years ago. At that time, they were already over 1,000 years old. Although they didn't have a family, they had parents who loved them very much. Even now, their parents might still be alive. It was hard for her to get used to calling someone else a father all of a sudden. However, she was full of reliance on the young man who had carried them out of the divine kingdom and raised them. More than half a year after her memories hadn't fully awakened, she could feel that young man's doting, care, and love for them. Now that her memories had awakened, she had a very special feeling. Sai, what should we do next? Kair scratched her hair and looked outside in a daze. Sister, Daddy asked me to bring you your favorite cake. Here. Half an hour later, Huar walked over with a cake in her hand and a smile on her face. Kair looked at the cake in her sister's hand and was slightly lost in thought. The memories of the 2 little girls should be fully restored soon. I wonder how they will react. At the top of the mountain peak, Wang Xian shook his head slightly as he looked at Mount Hua, which was shrouded in divine light. After an entire afternoon, he had already gotten over it. The 2 little girls were not his daughters to begin with. He knew that this day would come sooner or later. Under the slight discomfort, he had also gotten over it. At this moment, Wang Xian's eyebrows twitched slightly as he looked towards the north. That was the land of the 9 dragons. Is someone targeting the dragon soul again? Wang Xian raised his eyebrows and his figure disappeared instantly. He appeared in the sky above the land of the 9 dragons. It's another god that has been resurrected. Furthermore, there are 3 of them. One of them is exuding an evil aura. When Wang Xian was floating in the air, he looked down. There were 3 figures 10,000 meters deep underground. Wang Xian had seen 2 of them before. One of them was a country bumpkin who had already obtained the dragon soul. The other was the young master of the celestial race. Wang Xian had never seen the last one before. However, his strength was indeed the strongest among the 3 of them. He had the cultivation of a level 9 demigod. In the past half a year, Wang Xian had sensed many people searching for the dragon soul, including the gods from the other four forces. However, Wang Xian did not manage to capture it. After the gods obtained the dragon soul, they might use special methods to refine it, or they might discover the situation of the dragon soul. Therefore, he did not order the gods to capture the dragon soul. As for the rest of them, they were all heaven's favorites, or even those at the insightful void tier. Naturally, Wang Xian could not let them obtain it. This country bumpkin has quite a big appetite. He even wants to obtain a second dragon soul. Wang Xian looked at the country bumpkin who was holding the dragon-seeking array, and a cold expression appeared on his face. After the country bumpkin obtained the dragon soul, he had spent a huge amount of resources in the past 6 months to create the body of a true dragon. It might not be long before he could use the dragon soul to ignite the divine fire. However, he was clearly a little greedy. He wanted to obtain more dragon souls. The resources of the country bumpkins are no longer sufficient to raise the dragon soul to the godly state. The young master of the celestial race and another young man who is emitting an evil aura can let them obtain the dragon soul. Wang Xian revealed a look of contemplation. Finally, his gaze landed on the young man who was emitting an evil aura. He was also a god who had been resurrected and was very powerful. After obtaining the dragon soul, you won't be able to become the true dragon son of heaven in the end. Instead, you will die. I'll leave it to you. Wang Xian's impression of the young master of the celestial race wasn't too bad. His temperament was obviously much better than that of the country bumpkin and the young man who was emitting an evil aura. Therefore, he wasn't planning to choose the young master of the celestial race. I can't let them get their hands on him so easily. Otherwise, I might get suspicious. Wang Xian stood at the top and pondered in his heart. After making up his mind, a faint smile appeared on his face. The current him was completely using the resurrected god as a chess piece and himself as a chess player to control everything. However, just as Wang Xian arrived at the land of the 9 dragons due to the unusual movement of his dragon soul, more than 10 shadows slowly appeared at the foot of the Hua mountain where he lived. Leading them were 2 old men. They were staring at the top of the mountain peak with a hint of coldness in their eyes. Chapter 1913. 1913 Dragons Wrath 2. According to the information we received, those 2 girls and that young man live on the top floor. Other than that young man, the rest are a group of weaklings. Don't worry. Before lighting the dream divine incense, everyone be careful. Don't be discovered. If this matter isn't handled properly, we'll all die. On the mountain peak where Mount Hua's Dragon Gate Academy lived, an old man reminded the dozen or so people around him in a low voice. Yes. The group of people nodded solemnly. If they couldn't complete the order given by their divine son this time, they would all be doomed. Activate the concealment array. Let's go. The other old man said. The 3 figures at the outermost area each held an array stone plate in their hands and moved slightly. The array was activated, and the dozen or so figures quickly disappeared. In less than 10 seconds, a wisp of white smoke rose from the top of the mountain. The smoke only appeared for a moment before drifting towards the top of the mountain. When it came to the side of the mountain, the white smoke had already disappeared. Everything returned to calm once again. At the same time, in the room at the top of the mountain, Hua was lying on the side sleeping soundly. Kair, who was at the side, widened her eyes and looked at the ceiling above. Buzz buzz. At this moment, the 2 star grass on top of their heads trembled. Huh. Kair was slightly stunned. A cold expression appeared on her small face as she looked outside. Sister, wake up. She patted Hua beside her, her eyes shining. What's wrong, sister? Hua opened her eyes in confusion and looked at her sister in confusion. Wang Wang. At this moment, the star grass on their heads trembled again. A faint fragrance entered their nostrils. Someone is poisoning us. Kair's expression immediately turned cold when she smelled the fragrance. What? Hua sat up and waved her hand. She put on her clothes and looked outside. It's the dream god incense. It can make people fall into a dream. Even a god realm expert would fall into a deep sleep. Kyr's little face changed slightly as she said this. Her eyes revealed a cold expression. Dream god incense. Hua was stunned once again. At this moment, images suddenly appeared in their minds. The dream god incense could cause experts below the godly state to fall into a dream. Even if they were attacked, they would not wake up. This was the power of the dream god incense. However, the powerful ability of the dream god incense landed on Hua and Kyr's bodies, causing deep memories to appear in their minds. The dream god incense, on the other hand, accelerated the awakening of their memories. The dream god incense can make anyone below the god realm dream within a second. Let's go! In the air beside the mountain peak, the old man's voice sounded out of thin air. Following that, figures appeared one after another as they walked towards the rooms at the top of the mountain peak. Go and search the rooms above. The main ones are those two girls. If you see that young man, take his head. The old man in the middle said as he directly entered a room. Oh! When he entered the room, he saw that there were two Hua and Kyr with their eyes closed. His face lit up with joy. Aching, you two girls made the divine sun so angry. What a pity! The old man looked at the delicate and cute Hua. He snorted lightly and directly walked toward them. Pa! Who are you? However, at this moment, the door of a room beside them suddenly opened. Yao Nu was holding a trance that was emitting light in her hand. She looked coldly at the old man who had suddenly appeared and shouted sternly. What's going on? She isn't sleeping? The old man was slightly stunned when he saw Yao Nu. What did you do to the two little princesses? Go to hell. When Yao Nu saw Hua, who had her eyes closed and was motionless, killing intent appeared in her eyes. Damn it, there's still one who isn't unconscious. You're unlucky. When the old man saw Yao Nu, he waved his hand, and his domain enveloped the room. Buzz! In an instant, a large earthy yellow palm appeared around Yao Nu. Not good, Dragon King, save me. Yao Nu felt the earthy yellow palm surrounding her and knew that she had encountered a top-notch expert. She cried out for help in horror. However, his voice didn't penetrate the old man's domain. If Wang Xian was still nearby, he would definitely sense it. Unfortunately, he happened to leave tonight and was 100 kilometers away. Die! The old man waved his proven arm and the earthy yellow palm clawed. A powerful force landed on Yao Nu's body, causing her to spit out blood and pass out instantly. Ant! The old man casually waved his hand, wanting to completely destroy her. Wang! At this moment, the god-striking branch in Yao Nu's hand suddenly released a jade-green light that enveloped Yao Nu. The powerful force landed on it without causing the slightest ripple. What is this? The old man was slightly startled and hurriedly looked at the god-striking branch in Yao Nu's hand. Whoosh, whoosh. Before the old man could go and take a look, a piercing sound was heard. The old man's body paused, and his pupils slightly enlarged. He stiffly raised his palm and placed it between his brows. A drop of blood appeared in his line of sight. Bang! His body directly fell to the ground. Second brother, do you see the figures of those two little girls? At this moment, a weak voice came from outside, followed by more than 10 figures entering the room. Second brother. When the other elder saw his companion lying on the ground, his expression changed drastically as he shouted loudly. Elder Jean. The expressions of the more than 10 figures behind him changed slightly as they scanned their surroundings vigilantly. Whoosh! At this moment, another weak voice sounded, and everyone in the room froze. They trembled and looked at each other in shock. Bang, bang, bang. More than 10 corpses fell down. With the protection of the star grass, it was impossible for anyone under the god realm to harm them. With the death of everyone, the entire room fell into silence again. Yao Nu lay quietly on the ground, being hit by the god protector. Huar and Kair fell into a dream, and their memories began to quickly awaken. Time slowly passed and the sun rose. The entire mountain peak became lively. Xiao Ran, should we call Huar, Kair, and teacher over? On the mountain peak, Xiao Ran, Jiling Fei, and the others were preparing to bring their students to participate in the competition. Jiling Fei saw that Huar, Kair, and the others had not come down yet, so she asked him. There's no need. Master will bring them over later. That girl Huar likes to sleep late. Xiao Ran smiled and shook his head. He then led the rest of the students to the competition grounds of the 5 great academies. I actually have a father. I was actually seen naked by a man. No. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded from the room at the top of the mountain. The flower stood on the bed and kept jumping up and down and shouting with some madness. Chapter 1914. 1914 Dragon Fury 3 1914. Sob, sister, what should we do? We have an extra father. But this father seems to be even younger than us. To think that I, Lin Yuan, have an extra father younger than me. He even saw me naked. That stinky fellow even gave me the name of Wang Hua. Does it have to be so ugly? Does it have to be? The crazed voice continued to ring out. Huar's little face was flushed red and filled with shame and anger as she kept calling out. Kaia, who was at the side, looked at her younger sister who had completely regained her memories and smiled bitterly. That fellow was indeed a little too much. Giving them both a name like Wang Hua and Wang Kaia, it was extremely ugly. How will you face him in the future? Kaia looked at her sister and said with a smile. I don't know either. I can't call a little guy who is thousands of years younger than me as father, can I? If we add in the hundreds of thousands of years that we have fallen, it makes him look even younger. But he did raise us up to such a big age. And he is so good to us. What should we do, sister? We were young girls back then. He actually saw all of us naked and even kissed us all day long. Huar kept shouting in the room. At first, it was fine, but the more she listened, the darker Kair's face became. What did he mean by seeing all of us naked? Back then, you even peed on his neck. Kair said directly to Huar with slight anger. Hearing her sister's words, Huar's face immediately turned red, and even her neck turned red. She pointed at Kair and pouted. Lin Yuro, I'm warning you, don't say anything about this in the future. Okay. Kair smiled and frowned. What should we do now? I don't know either. Huar's face fell, and she looked like she had nothing to live for. Why don't we continue to pretend? We have already called him Daddy, so what if we continue to call him Daddy? Suddenly, Huar raised her eyebrows and said, Then do you want to keep calling him Daddy from now on? Kair glared at her and said, That guy is also quite good to us. We cannot call him little brother when we are together. Huar pouted and said with a sad face, Sigh, little sister, your divine kingdom has completely fallen. My divine kingdom can still sense it a little. Why don't we wait until our bodies have grown a little before we talk about it? Wait until we recover to the divine realm, then we'll consider the matter with that guy. Kair hesitated for a moment and said. Huar was stunned for a moment. Then she looked at her small body, obviously very dissatisfied. Well, that's the only way. I'll look for him again in the future. She said to Kaia. These people. Kair turned around and looked at the corpses on the ground. Her eyes flickered with a cold luster. A bunch of scoundrels. They still want to kill us. It should be that divine son from the pyramid yesterday. What bullshit divine son. When we recover our strength, we'll kill them all and send them to hell. Huar snorted coldly with a fierce look in her eyes. Kair waved her arm, and all the corpses on the ground disappeared. She looked at Yao Nu, who had fallen to the side and was being protected by the god Slayer. Sister Yao Nu is injured, but it shouldn't be a big problem. Sister, you said it was really strange. When the God-Slayer's branch father gave it to us, it was already on the verge of withering. There was only a trace of energy left. That stinky fellow, how did he restore the God-beating branch's vitality? Hua Er looked at the God-beating branch in Yao Er's hand and frowned slightly. He's very strong and very mysterious. Kai Er's eyes flashed with a luster. Back then, the God-beating branch was on the verge of withering, but their father still solemnly gave it to them to protect themselves, saying that it would save their lives in the future. This time, they were able to revive again, all thanks to the God-slaying branch. However, after the God-slaying branch retained a drop of their blood, it also completely withered. Now that it could recover again, they were extremely surprised. Sister Yao is protected by the God-slaying branch. We can't touch her. Let her lie here, let's go. Kyer continued speaking to Hua. Okay, let's go. Hua nodded. Right, should we tell him? Tell him what? Could it be that our memories have awakened? You're just a little brother. We'll come find you after cultivating for a while. Let's go, let's go. As Hua and Kyer spoke, they moved and disappeared. They flew towards the divine kingdom that had not been completely damaged. Damn it, why is this dragon's soul so hard to capture? At that moment, in the land of the 9 dragons, 100 kilometers away from Mount Hua, below a city, the Earth grandson held the dragon-seeking array in his hand as he walked underground with an embarrassed expression. Looking at the dragon soul that disappeared in an instant, his expression changed drastically. One. At this moment, he felt the place behind him shake, causing his expression to change drastically. Who? Fuck, there's actually someone following behind me. The Earth grandson immediately looked around warily, his eyes filled with wariness. That evil youth is indeed extraordinary, to be able to follow behind the Earth grandson. It's about time. Congratulations, true dragon son of heaven. I won't play with you guys anymore. Hua and Kyer are getting up now. Tens of thousands of meters above the ground, Wang Xian's face was filled with a strange smile. He looked at the time and arrived in the sky above Mount Hua in a flash. Hua, Kyer, wake up. It's time to bask in the sun. Wang Xian arrived at the peak of the mountain and saw that Xiao Ran and the rest had already left. He walked towards the room of the 2 girls. However, when he entered the mountain peak, he sensed something strange around him. What's that smell? He sniffed with his nose and frowned immediately. His dragon eyes of the yin-yang and 5 elements swept across the surroundings. When he saw that there was no sign of Hua and Kyer in the room, his expression changed slightly when he saw Yao Nu lying on the ground inside. Bang! Wang Xian immediately opened the door and walked into the room. He looked at everything in the room with a gloomy face and walked to Yao Nu's side. He waved his arm and regained his focus. A surge of energy landed on Yao Nu's body. Yao Nu opened her eyes slowly. When she realized that she was not dead, she heaved a sigh of relief. Dragon King. When she saw Wang Xian, she was slightly shocked. She recalled the scene from yesterday. Dragon King, someone barged in to deal with the 2 little princesses last night. The 2 little princesses, they... As Yao Nu spoke, she immediately surveyed her surroundings and searched for Hua and Kyer's figure. Her face was filled with anxiety. Someone is here to deal with Hua and Kyer? Wang Xian's face darkened. A terrifying killing intent flashed in his eyes. Who is it? He asked with a terrifying aura. Dragon King, Yao Nu is guilty. I saw an old man talking about the divine sun. I remember now. That old man seems to be the person beside the 9th divine son of the gate yesterday. Yao Nu knelt down and said with a pale face. When she recalled the old man's face, which was the same as the one she saw on Shuntai Peak, she immediately said in fear. Chapter 1915 1915 Dragon's Wrath 4. The people beside the 9 divine sons. When Wang Xian heard Yao Nu's words, a cold glint flashed in his eyes. They are courting death. Wang Xian growled in a low voice. His violent aura caused Yao Nu to tremble. This was the first time she felt the Dragon King's fury. If this violent aura attacked her directly, she had a premonition that she would die under the pressure. At the thought of this, she felt even more terrified. After all, she had failed to protect the two little princesses. Phew! Wang Xian took a deep breath. His eyes were cold as he scanned his surroundings, looking for any clues. The son of God, the son of the god of the pyramid. If anything happens to Huara and Kair, I will make your pyramid your graveyard. Wang Xian mumbled as he looked towards the center of Mount Hua. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Get up. He glanced at Yao Nui indifferently. This matter was not something that she could stop. With Yao Nui's current strength, she was not as powerful as the two little girls. Dragon King, the two little princesses. Yao Nui said with bloodshot eyes. Whoever dares to hurt them, I will bury them with them. Wang Xian said coldly. His figure moved and appeared in the sky above the mountain peak. You'd better pray that nothing will happen to the two little girls. He looked at the center of Mount Hua. That was the first day of the competition of the 5 great academies. The competition was also held at the summit of Mount Hua. His figure moved and appeared directly above the competition venue. The battle between the 5 great academies' chief academies, the summit of Mount Hua. It was located at the summit of Mount Hua. After undergoing the transformation of the array formation, it was the size of a football field. There were viewing platforms in the surroundings. At this moment, the viewing platforms were already filled with tens of thousands of people. Among these tens of thousands of people, there were students from the 5 great academies, there were people from the Protoss race, and there were even some who had come specially to watch. Around the central arena, there were dozens of cameras set up in all directions, broadcasting the competition live. Dozens of television stations were broadcasting the competition live. The competition between the top academies in the world was still related to the ranking of the academies. Naturally, it attracted the attention of the entire world. Almost 1/3 of the people in the world were watching the competition. The 5 academies were located in the 5 most eye-catching locations. Wang Xian hovered in the sky and looked coldly at the son of deity of Gate 9 who was standing in front of the stage of Gate 9 Academy. If it was an ordinary force or someone else, Wang Xian believed that Huara Kair, who had the protection of the stellar grass, would not have any problems. However, the other party was a son of deity, the son of a god. He could not guarantee that the other party would have any special items that could deal with spiritual items such as the stellar grass. Now that Huara and Kair had disappeared, it was definitely related to him. A bunch of ignorant people on the internet actually dare to say that our 9 Gates Academy is the worst academy. Today, I'll let you see the strength and dignity of the 9 Gates Academy. Kiki, Dragon Gate Academy, Fire God Academy, your students aren't doing well. Send out your strongest students. At this moment, at the peak of Mount Hua, Divine Sun Menjio stood in front of his seat and coldly swept his gaze over everyone around him. His gaze was fixed on a youth wearing the uniform of the 9 Gates Academy in the middle of the arena. His eyes flickered with a cold luster. Sweeping his gaze over the 9 Gates Academy's position, when he didn't see the 2 little girls appear, he heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. At the same time, he was also incomparably astonished. Last night, he had sent out his strongest subordinate to kidnap the 2 little girls from yesterday. In the end, he didn't see them even after a night. This caused him to have a slight bad premonition. This bunch of damnable fellows. However, regardless of whether they succeed or not, it's fine as long as the 2 little girls from the Dragon Gate Academy don't appear. He snorted coldly in his heart. As for the life and death of his subordinates, he was no longer interested. As for whether the matter of him sending people to kidnap those 2 little girls would be exposed, he didn't care at all. His mother was a god of the pyramid. Even if it was the god of the Lingxiao treasured palace, they wouldn't dare to touch him easily. What he wanted was the #1 spot in this year's Academy Grand Competition. He wanted the Gate 9 Academy to become the leader of all the academies. Just now, when their Gate 9 Academy appeared, he heard all kinds of jeers and jeers from the surrounding spectator stands, making his expression extremely awkward. He had directly sent out his final trump card in the first match, a disciple of the 8th rank of the Profound Void tier. As for how this disciple of the 8th rank of the Profound Void tier had been promoted, only the higher-ups of his academy knew. That disciple of the Gate 9 Academy is so strong. They actually sent out such a powerful disciple in the first match, and even heavily injured the disciples of the Dragon Gate Academy and the Divine Fire Academy, almost killing him. Didn't they say that the Dragon Gate Academy could easily crush the Gate 9 Academy? How can the students they sent out be so strong? They can almost rival some heaven's favorites. You can't believe what's on the internet. That school from the Gate 9 Academy is so strong. As expected of the Son of God, the school founded by the Son of God. In the surrounding audience stands, everyone looked at the students from the Gate 9 Academy in the center of the arena in shock. Yesterday, there was a video on the internet that caused the reputation of the 9 Gates Academy to be greatly damaged. However, today the first match had just ended, and the 9 Gates Academy had already displayed a terrifying crushing power. This caused everyone to be incomparably shocked. The strength of an 8th-level Profound Void martial artist. In the positions of the Dragon Gate Academy, the Fire God Academy, and the other 2 academies, the higher-ups of the several great academies frowned. Wow, the first match of today's grand competition of the 5 great academies has exceeded everyone's expectations. The Gate 9 Academy has displayed almost invincible strength. The students of the Gate 9 Academy instantly killed the students of the other great academies. This is completely different from the ones on the internet. Everyone, continue to lock onto this channel. The next match will be even more exciting. The television stations were broadcasting. At the same time, the entire internet was carrying out a live broadcast. At this moment, the number of viewers had reached more than 1 billion. Seeing the first round of the competition end in less than a minute, everyone was shocked. I told you. How can the academy created by the descendants of the gods be weak? The 9 Gates Academy is really powerful. Look at the presidents of the other academies. Their expressions are all ugly. With the resources and background of the 9 Gates Divine Son, I reckon that the 9 Gates Academy will become the leader of all the academies. Before the live broadcast, some people were watching the situation of the competition and discussing it in low voices. It was like this on the internet. If one was strong, there would be people praising them. If one was weak, then there would be 10,000 people who would lose. The Gate 9 Divine Son, Huar, and Kair, where are they now? Just as everyone was shocked by the Gate 9 Academy's powerful strength, and just as the Gate 9 Divine Son was proudly standing in front of his seat, a figure suddenly appeared in the middle of the peak of Mount Hua. Everyone was slightly startled. Under the shock of some cameramen, the camera focused on the figure that had suddenly appeared. The eyes of millions, the eyes of the world. Chapter 1916. 1916. In 1916, the Dragon King appeared out of nowhere. What's going on? Who's that young man? What's going on? Why is there a young man here all of a sudden? VCK, why is there a young man suddenly appearing in the competition of the 5 major colleges? What's he doing here? The young man who suddenly appeared in the sky above the arena and stared at the 9th Divine Son of the sect made everyone slightly stunned. When the group of cameramen from the television station and the staff of the live webcast saw this scene, they immediately aimed at the figure in the sky. On the entire peak of Mount Hua, everyone was focused on the figure who had suddenly appeared. Master! When Xiao Ran saw Wang Xian suddenly appearing and floating in the sky above the arena, his expression changed slightly. He stood up immediately. What's going on? Why is teacher questioning where the 9th Son of God, Huar, and Kair are? Ji Lingfei's expression also changed slightly as she stood up and looked at the figure in the sky. The students of Dragon Gate Academy were also looking at him in astonishment. Who is that? More people were looking at the figure who had suddenly appeared in puzzlement. Shensi Minjio was standing there when he suddenly saw a young man questioning him. He was slightly stunned. When he saw the face of the young man from yesterday, he raised his eyebrows slightly. How do I know where the flowers and plants are? Why are you looking for someone to ask me? Shensi Minjio said to Wang Xian with slight disdain. Upon hearing the mysterious young man's question, he was rather happy. Although his incompetent subordinates had not returned yet, he could guarantee that the two girls had indeed been taken away by his subordinates. He just didn't know what had happened to them. Also, as Shensi Minjio spoke, he narrowed his eyes slightly. This is the competition of our academy. All useless people, get lost immediately. Scram immediately. Don't disturb the competition of our academy. Just as the divine son of the ninth gate finished his words, the dean of the Fire God Academy, the dean of the Sky Palm Academy, and the dean of the Spirit Peak Academy stood up as well. They shouted at Wang Xian with slight impatience. They were already in a bad mood when they saw the strength of the disciples of the Ninth Gate Academy. Now that they saw someone disrupting their academy's competition, they immediately shouted, "You don't know? If they lose even a hair, I will destroy the entire faction of your pyramid." When Wang Xian heard his words, a hint of killing intent appeared on his expressionless face. As for the other higher-ups of the academy, he didn't take them seriously. As he spoke, he slowly extended his palm. A gray palm appeared and grabbed toward the son of deity Menjio. "How dare you attack me? You're courting death." When the son of deity Menjio saw that Wang Xian was attacking him, his face instantly revealed a furious expression. "You haven't ignited the divine fire yet, and you still dare to attack me? You even want to destroy our pyramid. Ha!" He roared and moved his palm. A pyramid formed from earth attribute appeared and attacked the gray arm. Who is that young man? How dare he attack the ninth divine son of the gate? He is the son of a god. He is courting death. What arrogance! He actually wants to destroy the pyramid faction? Who is he? Is he an expert from the Lingshao treasured palace? He didn't ignite the divine fire? How dare he make an enemy out of the sect's ninth son of deity? He must be courting death. When everyone around heard Wang Xian's words and saw this scene, they were shocked. A young man actually dared to attack the sect's ninth son of deity. The tens of thousands of people around were dumbfounded. FUCK, 6666, it seems like this guy is going to die. Which ruthless person from the Looney Bin dares to attack the Son of God, the Son of the God? Is he courting death? Such a thing actually happened in the 5 Great Academies competition, ha! On the live webcast and television, everyone watching was also dumbfounded. Bullet screens quickly filled the screen. Towards a person who dared to attack the Son of the God, they were both shocked and full of ridicule. A god's son could be attacked by just anyone. If you didn't have a god as your backer, you were simply courting death. Why does this young man's figure feel somewhat familiar? However, some middle-aged and elderly people looked at the figure on the screen and felt that it was somewhat familiar. At this moment, a loud sound came from the peak of Mount Hua. The grayish palm landed on the golden pyramid that Shensi Menjio had released. The pyramid formed by the earth attribute instantly collapsed and disappeared. It was as if the 1,000-meter-long pyramid did not appear. The palm continued to attack Shensi Menjio. What? He is indeed very strong. Shensi Menjiu's expression changed slightly. He knew that he was definitely not a match for this young man. Furthermore, his 2 subordinates were nowhere to be seen. He could not withstand Wang Xian at all. When he saw this scene, he stopped and stared at Wang Xian coldly. There was no fear on his face. "Let me tell you, I don't care who you are. If you dare to hurt me, my mother will execute your entire family." Faced with the palm that was attacking him, the ninth divine son raised his head, his face filled with arrogance. So what if he wasn't his match? He dared to harm me. Everyone around saw the ninth divine son's arrogant expression, and their hearts were filled with admiration. This young man who had suddenly appeared was so powerful that it was beyond everyone's expectations, but the ninth divine son wasn't afraid at all. Just as he had said, if he dared to touch even a hair on his head, he would have to wait for the wrath of the gods. Peng. However, at this moment, the dusky palm landed on Shensi Men's body. His entire body trembled. Everything below his head instantly dissipated. The dusky palm held onto his head, protecting his life force. A demigod-level expert wouldn't die in such a situation. At this moment, Shensi Menjiu was stunned. His face still carried the arrogance and disdain from before. However, at this moment, the shock slowly turned into shock. His head slowly looked down, his eyes filled with shock. You actually dared to scatter my body. I want you to die, I want you to die. His face trembled violently as he roared with incomparable ferocity. This. Everyone was stunned when they saw this scene. Looking at the one-headed Shensi Menghui, everyone widened their eyes in shock. He actually dared to destroy Shensi Menghui's body directly. If you don't say it, I'll look at it myself. Wang Xian looked at his head and moved his palm. His grayish palm grabbed his head directly. No, mother, save me. Kill him, kill him. At this moment, his eyes widened and an earthy yellow radiance bloomed from his glabella. The grayish palm paused slightly and a human figure condensed in front of the Son of God. Jiuer. A graceful and elegant lady dressed in an elegant dress with a crown on her head appeared in the sky. An extremely powerful aura filled the entire peak of Mount Hua. When she saw her son, her expression changed slightly. She stared at Wang Xian with killing intent and dignity. Who are you? How dare you hurt my son? She stared at Wang Xian. The sky slowly turned yellowish and the color of the world began to change. Oh my God, that's the god of the pyramid. Oh my God, how terrifying. That young man is doomed. He actually provoked the god. That's not right. That's just a shadow of the god. It's a shadow that the ninth son of deity gave him to protect himself. His real body hasn't arrived yet. When everyone around saw the changes in the world and the arrival of the god of the pyramid, their expressions changed drastically. My name is Wang Xian. You can call me the Dragon King. Wang Xian replied word by word when he saw the apparition of the god gathered in front of the son of Pantheon. Chapter 1917. 1917. In 1917, the Dragon King fell from the heavens. My name is Wang Xian. You can call me Dragon King. When Wang Xian uttered these words with a calm expression, everyone was stunned. Wang Xian. Dragon King? Who was it? Most of the people's minds were filled with these words. You hurt the son of Yamen. Regardless of whether you are the Dragon King or the Insect King, you will die today. A mortal who has not even ignited the divine fire. How dare you offend the Son of God? Your crime is unforgivable. When the god of Yamen in the pyramid heard Wang Xian's words, her dignified gaze was filled with judgment. She waved her hand and a sword of judgment immediately condensed in the sky above Mount Hua, which was completely covered by the earth elemental energy. The earthy yellow sword of judgment directly pierced toward Wang Xian. He, your son dared to order people to attack Hua Air Kyer. I will make you pay the price and let you know who I am, Dragon King. Wang Xian looked at the sword of judgment that was attacking him from the sky and waved his arm. A muffled sound was heard, and the sharp sword dissipated instantly. This piece of sky is just a clone. Do you still want to cover it? Wang Xian looked at the earthy yellow energy that covered the entire sky above Mount Hua. A hint of coldness appeared on his face. With a wave of his arm, the entire sky shook. An incomparably huge palm tore open and the earthy yellow energy disappeared completely. That young man has such terrifying strength. I remember now. Dragon King, it's the Dragon King. The Dragon King from more than 10 years ago, it's him. It's exactly the same as more than 10 years ago. The Dragon King has actually returned. At this moment, when everyone saw Wang Xian breaking the judgment sword of Yaman's divine clone with one hand and tearing apart the earth elemental energy in the sky, some middle-aged elders suddenly thought of the name from more than 10 years ago. Dragon King. More than 10 years had passed. Many people were already unfamiliar with this name. However, when they thought of this name, waves of memories surged into their minds. How is this possible? It's really the Dragon King. He's not dead. He's still alive. He's still alive. The Dragon King from more than 10 years ago is still alive. An old man roared crazily in shock. As he roared, more and more people started to call out this name. Hua hua hua. One by one, the middle-aged old men could not help but stand up, staring at the expressionless young man in the air. What's going on? Is the Dragon King very famous? When at least half of the audience stood up, the youths were slightly dumbfounded and stunned. Since when did such a person exist on Earth? May I ask, who is the Dragon King? How come I've never heard of him? Same question, who is the Dragon King? From the reactions of many people on the summit of Mount Hua, it seems that the Dragon King is very powerful, but how come I've never heard of him? However, he can defeat the attack of the divine clone, so he shouldn't be weak either. So what if he is not weak? The god of the pyramid said that he is just a person who has not ignited the divine fire. This person is definitely a pill that dares to fight against the gods. He is seeking his own death. What do you bunch of little brats know? This is the Dragon King, the once invincible Dragon King. The Dragon King who suppressed an entire generation. I did not expect that the Dragon King is still alive. Oh my God! At this moment, on the internet and on the radio, more than 1 billion people were watching the Academy competition. The sudden accident surprised many people, but at the same time, it also filled them with interest. When everyone saw the young man who called himself the Dragon King defeat the avatar of God, everyone was slightly shocked. They were filled with curiosity about the name of the Dragon King. However, very quickly, there were many bullet comments about the Dragon King on the live broadcast. This caused the faces of all the young people to be filled with astonishment. When they saw the words, suppress an era, Invincible Dragon King, they were also slightly surprised. What suppress an era? What Invincible Dragon King? Today, he provoked a god. He's dead. That's right. He provoked our pyramid's Yaman god and injured our sect's 9 divine sons. This so-called Dragon King must be judged. However, although there were many people who were bombarded with bullet messages saying that the Dragon King was invincible, the disciples of the pyramid faction, as well as those disciples who had descended with the gods, scoffed. What Dragon King? Now that he had angered a god, the consequences could already be imagined. Faced with the ridicule and disdain of the young generation and the disciples of the Four Forces, the middle-aged elders on Earth had a slightly complicated expression on their faces. They didn't expect that the Dragon King was still alive, but this was the era of the gods. Just now, the pyramid god said that the Dragon King hadn't lit the divine fire yet, so would the once invincible Dragon King be a match for the gods? They did not dare to guarantee, because this was no longer the era of the Dragon King. This caused a complicated expression to appear on their faces, and their eyes were fixed on the live stream. Master! Xiao Ran watched from the side, and a worried expression appeared on her face. Don't worry, Xiao Ran. Your master is stronger than you think. Ji Lingfei's eyes were shining. Xiao Ran's master back then had given her a great shock. Afterwards, she had looked up some information about the Dragon King, and the results had caused her to be slightly shocked. He had never thought that a young man from Earth would be able to reach such a level. Suppressing an era, suppressing the entire Earth. Oh, you, a mortal who didn't ignite the divine fire, actually have such strength? Yaman's divine clone looked in astonishment at the Earth-type energy that had completely dissipated in the sky, and his eyes sparkled. "Mother, kill him, kill him." At this moment, the head of the son of deity Minjio, who was at the side, roared with a ferocious expression. "Jioer, don't worry. Mother will help you kill him." The avatar of Yaman god looked at his son. His face was filled with heartache again. "Mortal, an ant dares to offend the son of deity. Die." The avatar of Yaman god shouted in a low voice. With a wave of his arm, the earth elemental energy condensed into a shroud and attacked Wang Xian once again. But Wang Xian stretched out his claw and grabbed at the void in front of him. The grayish dragon claw condensed directly and penetrated the shroud formed by the earth attribute in an instant. "What?" Seeing that his attack was easily destroyed again, the expression of the Yaman deity's avatar finally changed drastically. "Today, even God can't protect you." Wang Xian stared at the ninth son of deity and said coldly. The dragon claw arrived in front of the avatar of Yaman and penetrated her body directly under her astonished gaze. It was too fast. "If you dare to kill my son, I, Yaman, will definitely chase you to the ends of the earth and kill all your family and friends." As her identity dissipated, a stern shout came out from Yaman's mouth. Wang Xian's expression turned cold when he heard her voice. He waved his arm and the head of Manjio continued to fly towards him. "No, no, don't you dare touch me. Don't you dare." Manjio roared in horror as he watched himself fly towards the Dragon King. Chapter 1918. 1918. In 1918, the Dragon King fell from heaven and earth. Buzz! In the sky above the peak of Mount Hua, the divine son of Menjio screamed miserably. The avatar of the Yaman god was defeated. Everyone was extremely shocked. Everyone, including those who were watching the live broadcast on the television network, watched this scene in shock. Wang Xian waved his hand and grabbed the head of the divine son of Menjio. He looked at him coldly. "Let me go. If you dare to kill me, my mother will not let you off." Looking at Wang Xian's cold and indifferent gaze up close, the divine son of Menjio's face was filled with shock and fear. Furthermore, he was still shouting at Wang Xian sternly. He was the son of God. He did not believe that the so-called Dragon King in front of him would dare to kill him. This Dragon King has such terrifying strength. Even if it is a clone of the god, it should at least have the strength of a level 9 demigod. This Dragon King can actually destroy him so easily. This Dragon King's strength should have already reached the peak of the demigod realm. He's simply too strong. In the audience stands around the arena on the peak of Mount Hua, everyone looked at this scene with faces full of shock as they muttered. This Dragon King is so fierce. He's at least at the peak of the demigod realm. He's a peerless expert. Do you think this Dragon King dares to kill the ninth divine son? I don't think he dares. Once he kills him, he'll have a complete falling out with a god. All kinds of bullet messages appeared on the live streaming platform on the internet. At this moment, more than 1 billion people were watching. Everyone was shocked. Some people watched as the Dragon King held the ninth divine son's head and discussed among themselves. Many people thought that the Dragon King wouldn't dare to kill the ninth divine son. After all, he was the son of a god. Killing him was equivalent to making an enemy of a god. Who could withstand the anger of a god? That ninth divine son is going to die. With the Dragon King's character, he is almost 100% sure that the ninth divine son will be killed. However, many middle-aged elders had already sentenced the ninth divine son to death in their hearts when they saw this scene. The former Dragon King had no taboos even before he rose to power. Anyone who provoked him would not have a good ending. The situation today was obviously caused by the ninth divine son of the sect secretly dealing with the Dragon King's family, which had thoroughly angered him. They still remembered that back then, because someone had hurt the Dragon King's family, half of the entire Jianghu had been massacred. How terrifying was this? The ninth divine son of the sect is going to die? That's impossible, right? I think that Dragon King is going to die in the future. Some of the younger generation commented when they saw these comments. Even your mother can't save your life. In the middle of the arena, Wang Xian had a look of disdain on his face when he heard the ninth son of deity's threat. There was a strange glint in his eyes. Soul capture. Wang Xian shouted softly. What are you doing? The ninth son of deity had a bad feeling when he saw Wang Xian's strange pupils. He shouted loudly. But after he finished speaking, he stopped abruptly. His face was filled with shock. Wang Xian slowly closed his eyes and read the memories of the son of deity Menjiu. Damn it. When Wang Xian opened his eyes again, his eyes were filled with intense killing intent. He could see everything that the son of deity Menjiu had done clearly. This made him feel a wave of violence in his heart. Hua Er Kair's disappearance was indeed related to him. As for whether they were safe or not, even he didn't know. All of you deserve to die. Wang Xian waved his furious palm and the head of the son of deity disappeared into thin air. At the same time, he waved his palm once again towards the entrance of the school. A gray river appeared and swept towards all the students of the school. What? He actually killed the son of deity. Not good, not good. He actually attacked us. At this moment, when all the students of the Men's 9 Academy saw their principal's head being destroyed, they were all shocked. However, when the gray energy of destruction attacked them, all the students of the Men's 9 Academy revealed fear on their faces. Some of them hurriedly fled into the distance. However, how could they possibly dodge Wang Xian's attack? No. The grayish invisible destructive energy swept past them and they disappeared instantly. They turned into dust and didn't even leave behind a corpse. The short and rapid screams only lasted for a few seconds before they disappeared completely. The Gate 9 Academy's position seemed to have been erased by this world, leaving no trace behind. Hiss! Seeing this scene, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air, their faces filled with shock. This. Everyone around the peak of Mount Hua watched this scene in shock. They stared blankly at the Dragon King in the middle, and couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. As expected, some of the middle-aged elders in front of the live broadcast did not have any expression on their faces when they saw this scene. This was the Dragon King in their hearts. Dragon King, I'm going to exterminate your 9 clans. At this moment, in the pyramid that was located more than 10,000 kilometers away, Yamen had already flown out of the pyramid when his clone was broken and teleported towards Mount Hua. However, before he could teleport, he sensed that his son's aura had completely disappeared. This caused her body to freeze, and a furious and savage expression appeared on her face. A furious roar resounded throughout the entire planet. Everyone in the world could hear it clearly. Wang. Her figure moved, carrying a terrifying murderous aura as she teleported towards Mount Hua. Under her feet, the pyramid of the Divine Kingdom slowly formed. The god was completely enraged, causing the entire world to tremble. An earthen yellow mark streaked across the sky over 10,000 kilometers. When everyone saw this scene, they all raised their heads and were dumbstruck. The true body of the Yamen god is here. This god is completely enraged. That Dragon King acted in a somewhat arrogant manner. He killed the son of the god and even directly wiped out the 9 Gates Academy. This is too cruel. The god has made a move. That Dragon King is completely finished. The entire world could sense the anger of the god of the pyramid. Whether it was on the live broadcast platform or in the audience stands at the peak of Mount Hua, everyone stood there in a daze. Gate 9 Academy, one of the 3 academies, was directly wiped out by the Dragon King. This was one of the top 20 powers in the world. The descendants of the gods were destroyed. The name of the Dragon King was remembered by everyone in the world once again. Killing all of you isn't enough to vent my anger. Yamen? He's just a god who ignited a wisp of divine fire. Wang Xian raised his head slowly and looked towards the west. His eyes were still filled with anger and killing intent. Boom, boom, boom. In the sky in the west, a series of explosions could be heard. The god of Yamen is here. The god of the pyramid is here. The sky in the west was like a sandstorm that blotted out the sun. It covered an area of more than 100 kilometers. In the middle of the sandstorm, a god that was filled with killing intent was standing on the pyramid. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.